One time this guy told me, wewe sio mtu wa kawaida. And I asked him why. He told me, wewe tu kaa ukijua, wewe sio mtu wa kawaida. Because I think the things he had tried to do to me, for me to die, were so many. Now, this is the other thing. He tried telling me, you can exist in this world and then exist in this other world. And I'd tell him, mi hizo masayansi unaniambia sielewi. He tell me, listen, you exist right now, let me say Lynn Ngugi, as a journalist now, and then you can also exist in another world as a lecturer. Being under a spell, you are a shell. You do not have your own mind. You don't have your own will. You don't have wisdom. You do not have discernment. You're a shell. So I just kept following him. Na yeye wanataka wanihepe. Ilikuwa imefika point, I think hizo majuju zimewak sana, pia yeye amechoka. Because I'm just always following him. And that day, Lynn, I looked at my baby and he was looking at me weirdly. That kid was giving me a weird look. It's like he wanted to tell me something. It's like he wanted to say something, but he can't. He's a baby. He just stared at me. He was just staring at me. And I looked at him and I started crying. And I really broke down. I told him, never leave me. You see, you're all I have. Never leave me. Promise me. Promise me. I started shaking him. Promise me you'll never leave me. You see, you're all I have. Even your father does not love us. You're all I have. Promise me. Nate, promise me.
Very good morning to you and a warm welcome to LNS Rebuilding Restoration Series. My name is Lynn Ngugi. Najua nimebadilisha kakoti, but God is good. I hope you guys are loving it. But anyways, I've waited to bring you a conversation of this nature for a while now. We talk about mtu ameibiwa nyota, or my destiny has been stolen, my destiny has been mismatched, and you wonder, do these things actually happen? And I've seen a couple of people giving their testimonies and walking us through how their destiny was stolen. But guys, we found an incredible person who understands what it means to have their destiny stolen and then working towards getting their destiny back. She will be talking to us about her story because I can't wait. It's not even more about how nyota yake iliibiwa. It's about the work she has had to put in to make sure that she is okay right now. And that's what the rebuilding and the restoration series is all about. So stay tugoje tu kidogo, because I gotta say thank you to our partners. Kabla hata I let her introduce herself, because guys, I tell you, production is a lot. So I'm forever thankful when I see incredible people partnering with us on these conversations. And I want to say thank you so much to our people at Kings Developers Limited. By now, you know where to get your homes from, your apartments. And I've said that Kings are very credible, and you can always walk to their building, Hapo Prism Towers, and ask them what they have. Remember, not only do they have apartments in the upper end, they also have medium range and also affordable housing with great amenities and flexible payment plans. Mugacha kuniangalia hapo. And flexible payment plans. So guys, make sure you check out Kings Developers Limited for all your apartment needs, and you can always call them. The details are right here on the screen. And also, if you are watching this conversation from diaspora, by now you know who to use to send your money back home. Why don't you try TapTap? They are very fast, they are reliable, and they have great rates. And just a reminder, if you get to use my promo code Lynn, you are able to get 10% cash back off your first transaction. So si kila time ukichukua hiyo app uitumie mara ya kwanza, you get 10% cash back off your first transaction on the figures that are appearing on your screen. And also to thank you guys for getting us to almost 1 million subscribers. By the way, if you are watching this conversation and you've not subscribed, please subscribe. It goes a long way. And also to thank the entire team at LNN for putting these conversations together and ensuring that we continue impacting the society one story at a time. And now, of course, without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce herself. Good morning.
Morning to you.
How are you?
I'm well, and you?
Uko salama?
Kabisa. kabisa.
How are you feeling?
I am feeling happy.
Yeah.
I am feeling very humbled to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to God.
Yeah.
And also I thank you and your team
Yeah.
for giving me this opportunity to be here.
Karibu sana.
Yes, asante.
Tell our people your name and also what you do.
Okay, my name is Revived Winner. I'm born again. I am a lot of things, but most of all, I'm a daughter of God. And I thank God because of this far. I am a journalist by profession. I'm an MC, a corporate MC as well. I am a writer. I'm an author. I'm also a youth pastor.
Yes.
I also have, I'm also called in the ministry, the women ministry as well. So yes, I'm a lot of things, and I thank God for all.
And you have an amazing voice.
Asante.
You have an amazing voice. But before we get into the conversation,
Yes.
I'm seeing your beautiful mom there,
Yes.
taking a seat and watching you and cheering you on as you give this testimony.
Yeah.
What does mom, how is your relationship with mom, and why is it important for her to just be present as you walk us through your journey?
Wow, utafanya nilie. That woman you see right there, she's the chosen, you know, she's Deborah, the chosen one, you know, the Deborah who used to lead, the children of Israel to war. She's that kind of a woman. She's a strong pillar. She's a pillar in my life, honestly. It means a lot for her to sit there today because she has contributed so much in where I am right now. I can say God has really used her as a vessel. And by the way, she's more of my friend than even my mom.
Wow.
We are like sisters. We are like friends. We open up to, in fact, sina warafiki mwingine. She's my friend.
Wow.
And then we also serve together. She's Pastor Priscilla, so I serve under her. So we serve together. Uko Sunday utatupata uko tukihubiri, utatupata wapi.
Yeah.
God takes us everywhere and we preach and spread the gospel of God together.
Yeah.
So it means the world to me. It means a lot to see her seated
Here.
right there.
Sindio.
This is our victory. And I told her, you know what? We are marching to it together.
Yeah, together.
Yes.
She's amazing. You know, you walked in
Kabisa.
and when you said, that's my mom, I
Yeah,
was like, what
yeah.
do you mean this is your mom?
Yeah.
Like your sister or your mom,
Mom,
you know?
yeah.
But it's really nice to see her there. And she also blessed this conversation before we started.
Yes.
But again, before we get into the conversation, one thing I've noticed
Yes.
that you say your name is Revived Winner.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
Revived Winner is a name God gave me himself. You see, in the Bible, God changed names, and only God can change our names.
Wow.
No one can change. Hata tukijipea nicknames. Only God is the only changer of names.
Yes.
And so when I got born again and I received Christ and I started hearing God, nilikuwa nasikia na watu Mungu amesema. I used to wonder what they are saying. And one day God woke me up at 3 a.m. That time I was living in church. That time I had locked myself. I know we'll get there. I was living there and God woke me up and told me, you are Revived Winner. And I said, oh, ile YouTube channel, mi upetaka, okay, that YouTube channel I want to, open and do my content, I'll call it Revived Winner. God told me, no. You are Revived Winner.
You are.
It's not the YouTube channel. It is you. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. And so the next day, as I was going to introduce myself, God reminded me, as you do introduction, you are no longer that name. I am not going to mention it because now it is Revived Winner who is here. Yeah. He told me, you are Revived Winner. So even as you introduce yourself, you're Revived Winner. Remember, I'm introducing myself to the people who know me, to the people, even my mom was there. My mom tells me the moment I said Revived Winner, she wondered, revived what? Look at this young girl.
What are you winning?
What is winning? What are you winning? I didn't even look like winning at that point.
Yeah.
So it came from God.
Good.
Yes.
And you know, it's funny that even in these conversations,
Yes.
I feel like I should just do a conversation of that alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes we know it, but we
Yes.
don't look like it.
Yes.
Like, you know, sometimes there's something in me, but then you don't look like that thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
when you go telling people that you are, which they cannot see,
Yes.
people look at you like, are you stupid?
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy?
Yeah. People will look at me. Lynn, I looked so... I think you've seen my video. I said I didn't look anything like this. God literally rebuilt me. God literally restored even how I look. So back then, I looked so bad. So saying Revived Winner, people would be like, you're Nigerian, because they believed you must be Nigerian for you to be given this name.
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't look like it.
Good,
That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to continue showing
Yes.
us who we know we are, even if it doesn't reflect
Kabisa.
on the outside. But let's get into it. I
Yeah.
know my people are leaning ya maza, mi story ni yako ama ni ya guest, you know.
Yeah.
I know wako uko like shut up, Lynn, you know. But let's get into it. It's my time to sit back and let you walk us through your conversation from a place you're comfortable in relation to stolen destinies, you know, in relation to stolen stars, in relation to what you went through. Could you walk us in, you know, just from a place you're comfortable in, so that we get now to understand, you know, the lessons, the rebuilding and the restoration part of your story.
Yeah. Something tunasemanga kuibiwa nyota. That is just a layman's language.
Ama nyora.
Nyora.
Edwin.
Or Edwin says nyora.
Ameibiwa nyora.
Nyora. Lakini ilirudi.
Go on, sorry.
So yes, so that's just a layman's language to mean that my destiny had been manipulated, or it had been, you know, it had taken a route that really was not the path that God had ordained for me when you know, he made me. You know, the Bible says, don't mind me, I'll really quote the Bible because that's my manual. Yeah, the Bible says that God knew us in the book of Jeremiah. He knew us even before we were conceived, even before we were formed in our mother's wombs. So God had a plan even before. The Bible goes ahead to tell us that there's a path of ordination. There are those things that God ordained that we should do under the sun, you know, and that is the thing about your destiny being manipulated, because the devil is not really lean after sometimes the little things we see, that we see the devil is after my finances, the devil is, yes, he is, but the bigger picture is your destiny. So if he can get to your destiny, you can have all the finances you want, you can have all the happiness of this world, but if your destiny is manipulated, that is his point. So to speak about kuibiwa nyota, I was just a normal, you know, a good girl growing up. I was born in Nyandarua, mahali panaitwa Nyahururu. At 4 years, we moved to Nairobi. So all I can remember is life in Nairobi. We moved to a place called Kawangware. Mi manzeni megroia Ungwaro. So yeah, so until class 8, then we moved to Kayole, again Oyole. Then you can see the environments, but I had parents, or I have now, it's only my mom. My dad has passed on, so may his soul rest in peace. I had parents who were very intentional in bringing us up. So it doesn't matter what environment you are in, you are under their roof and you are under their care. I remember you wouldn't just walk out and go to the market. You had to have permission. I had curfews. This mom you see right here, we are friends right now, lakini kulikuwa na curfew. So you have to be home by 5 p.m. And I didn't have friends that unaweza kutembea and all that. So that made me a very focused girl. And in school, I was a high flyer. I performed well. On to high school. Of course, grades zinaendanga hapo form 2 zinakaa ni kama because I'm Tani show.
Who are you?
Exactly. But yeah, God is faithful. I got to university. I went to JKUAT Karen and I studied mass communication. And from there now I became, you know, a professional journalist. I worked for the Daily Nation in 2015 as a business writer. And in 2016, I went to NTV as a reporter. And that was my life. Sasa kutoka 2016 is when now I think the devil, you know, these things don't just come. God, the shetani anakuanga ametoka mbali. Kitambo zimanipulate, asha calculate. You know, kitambo, not manipulate, manifest in the physical. He's already calculated his steps. I'm not glorifying him. I'm just saying it so that we are aware.
He's smart.
He is smart. He's an old serpent. I mean, he's been here for centuries. You know, we can't just exist and say, oh, shetani, and then we just, you know, not acknowledge the fact that there's a little power that he has, but we are more victorious because the one that lives in us is more powerful. Yes. So now 2016 comes and I left NTV and I went because of greener pastures, of course. 2017 I worked for the government back then. And that was 2017, 2018, and now 2019 is when things went haywire. And in 2018, I remember it was just, you know, the NDA party. Ndia party ya kazi. Yes, ya mwaka. And I was awarded best employee. And I think that award is the last award I had from the world. because that very day I was awarded, and remember I was in the world, I wasn't born again. So that very time I was awarded, that very day is when I lost my job, because something occurred and there were queues in the office and I was on the wrong. And so 2019, I lost my job in January. And that was the beginning of the end at that time. And when I lost...
So you're coming from best employee to jobless.
To jobless. Wow. Yes, that's how fast things can happen when you don't have God, or when God is not your foundation. So yeah, so 2019 comes, ndio huyo mimi, I'm jobless. And because it was a very high paying job, I was living actually right here at Dome. I was just living there. So I had a good life, honestly. Young girls would look at me and think, I want to be that lady. I want to be that lady when I grow up. But really, I was just a shell. I was just very broken. And 2019 comes, so I get depressed, and all I'm doing is now drinking. Now I get into alcohol so much. See, before I was doing it, but in...
Ile ati I can control.
Yeah, ile unasemanga, I'm not an alcoholic, I can control this. Now this one became like my daily life in 2019. I tried kusimama, because I know I'm a journalist, I can do this, I can do freelancing. I tried setting up an office in my house, but nothing. Already this guy that I'm about to introduce now in my life had already spotted me, but spiritually speaking. What happens, Lynn, is that just like the time of Jesus, when the wise men would tell that star is of a king, and this king has come to destabilize the kings of this world. This king has come to do something that is going to render us, jobless in terms of, manipulating nations and all these things. And he has come to save the world. That's the same way I can tell you I was spotted. And this guy, according now, when I got born again and I got to understand what really happened and where all that came from, now I got to know that he had already spotted me. And so hata nikikuja kupoteza job, it didn't happen from nowhere. It happened by design, because our paths were now, coming to meet. Our fate was now coming together. Now in 2019, I had a cousin of mine that I had housed at my place, and this was his friend. So you see, these people do not really have to go like far from, the normal. Let me just paint a picture maybe to our viewer. Okay. What happens? Let's just say this is a wall of stars, because stargazers and readers are there to date. Au ndio watu wanaendanga huko kwa mashrines and, I want a star, I want a bright star. Now they look at it and this one is a bright star and this one is closer to you because huyu ni cousin ya huyu. So that happened, and that is the time now we met. Now when we met, it was just a normal hangout. This is a normal drinking hangout. Tumeenda a town. Can I mention towns?
It's okay, yes.
Yeah, we had Thika. And we're just hanging out. And so my cousin tells me, there's a friend of mine who is coming, and we used to study together. We used to be in the university together. And so, I didn't care. All I wanted was to drink. Remember, I've lost my job. I've lost everything. So I want now to just fill that vacuum with the drinking and the partying and the friendships and all these things. So he comes, and I'm just looking at him like, oh, he's just a friend to my cousin. Yeah. So, okay, let's just hang out. But I didn't look at him like a boyfriend or a potential, but he knows what he was doing. Yeye alikuwa assignment, so yeye alikuwa anajua what he is doing. So when he comes, these hangouts, continue. And before I know it, my cousin is inviting this guy to my house, right, where I was living in Dome. So I can invite, and it became a hangout. One time, he left us together, again by design. And now we started having conversations. But I'm looking at this guy. This one is not my type.
My type.
You're a girl. Yeah. You know when you see a man who is your type, you know your type.
Good.
And so I'm looking at this guy like, this one can only be a friend. Cannot be my type. I cannot be with this guy. But he persists. And remember, this person is not persisting akiwa peke yake. He has powers behind him. So, and I'm there. I don't know God. I don't pray. By the way, I never used to pray. Praying, at least that watu wanasemanga, like they pray 2 times a day. I never used to pray. So there's nothing backing me up.
Except alone.
I'm alone. I have no powers backing me up, except for the prayers that, our parents pray for us. And let me tell you, Lynn, people really bank on those prayers, and it is good. But those prayers can only support you to a certain point. There's a certain point that God now wants you to stand by yourself.
I think I've been a victim.
You've been a victim.
Yeah, because like my mom is so prayerful.
Yes.
So sometimes there's always mamangu ananiombea. Si mamangu ananiombea.
Yeah.
I think pretty much many people are victims.
Many people
know?
are victims.
Yeah.
Because I've even seen like grown people just saying, I don't mind because my mom back in Ushago.
These are the prayers of my mom.
Yeah, these are the prayers of my mom. But we need to know this is our place. We need to know that God ordained us individually. Yes, we have mothers who are intercessors, great intercessors. But again, what about your path that you are ordained for? She can't pray for you, her path and your path, or he. You get. Yeah. So there's our place as well where we need to put in. So I've met this person and we have started talking. And before I know it, I'm in bed with this person. Again, another thing people do as though it's just a normal. Kwanza squeeze it's worse, So there we go. We have a relationship that has started in bed. That is a sexual relationship. It goes and I'm like, oh, because we've already done this, then we can just be a couple. We might just be a couple. We might just, let's just date then. Then that's how we now get into that relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that is where everything crumbled. Sexual covenants and agreements are what that get us into messes. You see, the Bible says other sins are outside your body, but this one is against your body. And this body is a temple of God. So the moment you have covenants sexually, you have agreements that you cannot even understand. Umeshashikana na madhabahu za kwao, umeshashikanishwa na a lot of things that you cannot even comprehend. And so from there now, if someone was transacting something in the spirit, then that means they have you now. They have you. You're under their spell. Now, he had me at that point.
Oh.
So whatever he says goes. Come to Thika, mimi ndio huyo sichelewi, do this, we hang out and all that. And my life started going downhill real quick. Remember, I've lost my job, but I had kidogo savings. So I had, I tried to live here and there. But sasa huyo amekuja, everything now crumbled. Now I started, being that lady who does not care anymore about her life. So I didn't care about what happens in my life. I didn't care about where I go, where I sleep, what I take, who I hang out with, what I talk, what I say. I became that kind of a lady. From a very disciplined lady, a very organized lady, a lady who knows with ambitions, I know where I'm going, to one that hata sina kesho. I'm doing now today. And that is the other thing that shetani anatupoteza, that tuishi leo, usijali kuhusu kesho. But I mean, we should plan ahead.
Yeah.
So now, amekuja, nimeanza kuto afford, job zangu zote zimepotea. Let's start there. So nilikuwa nafanya a few gigs. I go for events, I cover events, I interview people, and I was working. I also write for technology,
yes,
blogs and business. So I had that still. So I stopped going for those events. I stopped looking for work. I stopped caring where my money will come from. And that's, now I go totally broke. Sasa hata sijiwezi. Siwezi afford rent. Nilifika, rent arrears tu zimeenda zikiendanga. I can't afford my own food. I started depending on my parents. My parents at that point, they're wondering, what happened to our girl? What happened to her? She no longer comes home. I never used to go home, Lynn. She no longer comes. She's always drunk. And if I show up, I'm smelling of alcohol. My mom had gotten used to that. And you see, because we have always been friends, we'll definitely hug. Na atasikia, hefing, you're hefing. Uyo kwenye amelala. And that's how...
And parents always know.
They always know. They always know.
Yeah.
So I forsook my parents, and I started living a life that even my hygiene went down. By the way, ukiwa in captivity, hata kuoga tu. So unaona si afford rent, food, nini. It got to a point. Nimejiachilia. I had, let me tell you, a point, ya captivity ambayo people can just think it's a normal thing. I have good clothes in the wardrobe, lakini naweza vaa t-shirt na tights na niende tao. Because I'm like, si mimi niko educated. Like, I don't care. And then I used to watch these things, Real Housewives of wherever. So you have this attitude as well.
I don't care.
I don't care. This is my life. And now it got to a point, landlord akaniita. Akaniambia, now, the areas you have, hata hatutaki utulipe. We toka kwa nyumba yetu. Get out. Rejection now came in. Get out, don't pay us. Lakini leo by 6 p.m, be out of our house. Nishaambiwa hivyo, niko westi kwa sababu hizo ofisi zilikoko. I'm just calling my mom like, I've been told to move out today. I cannot live there another day. at that point the caretaker, yani nilikuwa tu yani rejection left, right and center. I started getting into fights even with the soldier wa gate. So mnaulizana hata nini na soldier. So those small things, you know, I would even go hata makanga mwenyewe tu hauna favor hata kwa makanga tu mtagombana tu at some point. So my parents come, they move me out and they're like, where do you want to go, where do you want to live? Remember, it is short notice, but they have to do that because their daughter cannot sleep out. I'm the firstborn Lynn. Hao wazazi wamenisomesha, wananiangalia tu zile za, now what is wrong with this girl? So they moved me out and they told me, you know what, let's go, you live in Buruburu. Nikawambia hapana, mimi nataka kuishi na uko mbele ya Roiro. What was happening in the spirit, now I understand, is that I was moving closer to his territory. I was moving closer to the territory of the, let me just call it secret society that guy belonged to, because their altar is somewhere in Kilimambogo. The one who, people who know that know which secret society I'm speaking about. So I was moving closer to, nakumbuka ya naishi Thika. So the moment you move to their territory, what happens is that ni kama kumove simba kwa maji. Haiwezi survive hata kama ni simba. Samaki ndio ita survive kwa hiyo maji kwa sababu hiyo ni territory ya samaki. So I moved closer to his territory, and so I was totally under his spell. The house I moved into is just, I mean, that house by design tu ilikuwa tu na captivity as well. And so I continued this relationship. I don't know he's the cause. Kwanza I'm so excited. I'm like, hey, at least now I've moved closer to him.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde till death. You know? So niko pale and we continue with these relations. And ikafika point sasa mimi sina makazi sasa zile corporate works. So I decided mimi naingia jua kali because I'm the kind of girl I want to do something. I want to make money. So nikaingia kuuza viatu Gikomba. Sasa from that graduate, that journalist was reporting for NTV. Sasa nikaingia Gikomba, nikungangana na viatu za men. Nikaenda, you should have seen me. Tao nilikuwa navuka hivi na gunia. Tao. This time my life is going down, his life is kijana tukimit had nothing. In fact, naweza sema alikuwa tu na katruza kamoja, Kenya alikuwa na shinda akiva. Yani he was nothing. But at this point, he started going up. So what I say about your destiny being manipulated, ama nyota yako kuibiwa, is that it's like a siphon. Ni kama sahi uingize pipe and you siphon out the water or the oil out of, you know, a container, and it's entering elsewhere. So that happened. So his life is going well. He has money. So this guy could not speak ati ile English. But suddenly he's a writer. Who is a writer? I'm a writer. But suddenly he's the one who is writing. Those things, you know, spiritual things cannot be explained in logic. So now his job was doing, you know, writing online. So na expand too. Pesa kwenye anatoa mimi sijui. Mtu hadi sasa ikafika place amenunua hata gari. Amenunua gari, amefungulia mzazi wake mabiashara huko Murang'a. He's now educating all the siblings kwao. And he had another girlfriend mwenye alikuwa anasomesha university.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Lakini sasa juu niko captivity.
You can't see it.
I can't see it. I'm just okay. I'm fine. I mean, you can't even question that relationship.
Like you know it, but you can't question it. It's not like you don't know. You know.
I know.
But you can't question.
And even when I question, he'll be like, you know, it's you I love. And then you'd be, okay, fine.
Oh my God.
So unaweza kufikiria ni wewe una overthink. So, and then they gaslight you. They gaslight you. So you're the one who is always overthinking. You're the one who is always taking things out of proportion. And that is what the devil wants you to think, that you're overthinking. Hapa kuna shetani. You know, the overthinking. So that was my relationship. And now I was in this relationship, nauza viatu huko Juja. I used to sell viatu hapo tu nje ya JKUAT. So I'm looking at JKUAT like I'm an alumni.
Here.
Lakini nauza viatu hapa chini, mezitandika chini. Si tena ni kwa duka. It was just trying to make ends meet, literally. So mimi huyo navuka Thika Road kila jioni na tu viatu twangu, usiku saa 4 navuka na gunia. Yani, yeah, so that was my life. And now he didn't know about this business until I introduced him, until he came one time. And because I had noticed kuna kapate na kaendi vizuri, nikimwonesha tu biashara, if I tell him like, unaona hii kazi nimepewa na wase niwaandikie website, niwaandikie content yao, that those guys will call me and cancel, or I will work and not get paid. So I used to be in those circles. For me now to decide nifanye hii kazi ya viatu, I had realized there's that pattern. So sikumwambia. And when he knew about them, akakujanga, he just showed up at that place and bought like 3 pairs. Kutoka hapo kazi yangu ikakauka.
He bought 3 pairs of shoes?
Yeah. Akanunua 2 pair 3. From there my job just went dry. Now I don't have stock, sina pesa ya stock, sina nini. So that was pesa inaenda kwa bar, na kama si kwa bar inaenda tu kwa vitu zenye hata silipi rent. Aiendi hata ati kwa shopping ya nyumba, lakini sana ni kwa bar. Because at that point I was a guzzler. Wanaitangwa magazla.
Yes.
At that point I'm seriously drinking and taking other things, you know. And so at that point my biashara just dries off, and so now nikabaki na tuviatu natuangata tuviatu 10 na nikatua hapo. Bora tu nipate kama 300. Niteremke Thika nikakunywe. Sasa nimeingia hadi kwa keg. Now I'm the one who is uko niomi kusema. Ndio mimi nawaambia msiniekee keg ya hii, nataka hii ya black. Yes. I'm that person
you
now.
You even know the difference.
Yes, I know the difference. Najua hii ni kushiba ndashiba, hii ndio itanilewesha haraka.
Usinipeshe usikuna. Usini short change.
You know, usini short change. Leta na ulete na jug.
Yes.
Sasa nimekuwa huyo dem. You know, and now to this guy it is okay. All he used to finance was my drinking. Of course, hiyo 300 haitanitosha the whole night.
But he will finance the drinking.
Oh yes, but he never give me ati money like this. I think wanakwanga under instruction or to, they can't develop you with that money, but they can spoil you that thing to just keep you drunk and drunk in that relationship. So during this time, I have started getting pregnant. I got pregnant the first time. I miscarried at 4 months. Miscarrying at 4 months, now that was the first pregnancy. I bled.
Yeah.
For like a month. I bled for like a whole month. Nimeisha nimetosha na hivi. I have no one to tell. Wazazi nilishawa watupa nje. I had already sidelined them. They don't matter to me. Only this guy matters. So even when they call, I'll just look at the phone like this. Ilie imalize. I didn't care. I didn't talk to them. I never went home. Now I am, you know, the devil has to separate you to finish you. Lazima akuseparate. Just like when God consecrates you, when he wants to, you know, take you to levels, the devil also does. You remember, he imitates.
Yes.
So pia anakuseparate ndio akumalize. And people who can see that unaenda vibaya, ama we unakunywa sana, ama there's something wrong with your life, he'll make sure they are away. So that they cannot help you. So this time I only have that guy. So when I get pregnant and when I miscarry, he used to disappear. I bleed in that house by myself. I used to bleed for like a month, and then the stench that is around me, I can't even go to people. Hata nilikuwa nangoja hata ikuwe usiku so that I go and buy things to eat. I can't even get out during the day. The devil, yani it's oppression. Unakaa kwa hiyo giza, unakaa tu kwa hiyo nyumba. Sina hata at some point I will not have even like pads that are enough, because remember, financially I'm nothing. So sometimes some things my mom will hear from here. Sometimes I just sit on the toilet and let it just drip. You know, just drip, and I bleed, and then at some point Nikki feels sasa ime reduce, I just go back to my bedroom. Kama ni nguo, sometimes I'd wear even like mini tights or underwears so that I bleed there. So
or you fold them,
or I fold, yeah, or sometimes I would even fold tissue. And it was just that life. It was just a lot. Padi ilikuwa tu ndava if I'm getting out of the house so that nisimesu uko nje. But nilikuwa nishazoea kuishi na hiyo condition. This guy is nowhere to be seen. He's disappeared. I think that was at 4 months. That's the first pregnancy, the second pregnancy at the same time. 4 months. And remember, not all, I think like 2 pregnancies I told him, but I didn't tell him like the third one. Because I realized 4 months. Ya tatu still sikumshow. Sasa hii ilifika 4 months, but then I remember I was coming from Thika, nikashuka gari. When kushuka hivi gari, I felt like water pour. So now I know it's water breaking, but I didn't know what that, nikasema, kwani nimejikojolea? Have I urinated on myself? So I went to my house, kama normal too, na nikaenda na nikalala, like I just went, showered,
slept.
And I slept. So to me, it was nothing, or I didn't know what really was happening. Then I remember the next day I went to visit a friend of mine who lived in Ruaka. So when I went to visit that friend of mine, at night, nikiwa tu nimekaa, because alikuwa ameenda kulala.
Yeah.
So mimi nimekaa tu sitting room because I was watching something. Nikaanza kusikia tumbo inaniuma. I didn't know what was going on. This stomach is persisting. So I decided, let me go to the washroom and check what is happening. So on going to the washroom, I realized sio tumbo is not at the long call that you can say you're being pressed by that. So I realized something was dangling from my
tummy.
Yeah, and so I decided to pull whatever I saw dangling. And it took me about 3 hours just struggling and in pain and in bleeding. And that washroom was now like full of blood. Yani, I used to bleed abnormally because of course this blood is being
for real.
Yeah, it's being asked for elsewhere. You see, these are sacrifices, and so giving these sacrifices, that means that idamu inaitishwa mahali. So at the end of the day, I pulled whatever that was dangling, and it was a fetus. So I didn't know, but I could see huu ni mtoto. So remember, my friend is sleeping, so mi niko zile za akiamka atafikiria nilikuwa nafanya nini kwa bafu yake, because now it looks like a crime scene, you know. So I flashed that thing. I flashed and I kept just flashing
until the end.
Yeah, because you see, I'm confused, I'm crying, I'm so weak, I am shaking. It was just bad. So, and I now cleaned before amke. I just washed. Nilikuwa namwaga kila kitu, happy kuko, omo zote ziko huko, just to clean so that akiamka hakuna traces ya hizo vitu. Now when he woke up, alinipata tu, I'm lying on the floor. I was conscious but not conscious. So he told me, no, you need to go to hospital. And me, I'm telling him, hapana, I need to go to my house. No, I need to take you to hospital right now. Namwambia hapana, mimi nilipie cab niende kwangu. Kwangu niko sawa. So remember, kwangu ni kama altar ya kishetani. So that I just feel like the urge to just go and sit in that captivity or that oppression, because that realm is just that. I remember he paid my cab, and when I went home, kufika kushuka tu hivi cab, ndo huyu mtu, that guy. So venye nilishuka kaniuliza, umetoka uko Umalaya. So, you know, they'll keep making you feel like you're promiscuous. It's just gaslighting you. And God knows, kaa kuna software Lynn sikuwa nayo, hata as much as I was drinking, your software sikuwa nayo. Iyo nayo sikuwa nayo. So,
it's a software.
Iyo ni software. Sikuwa nayo kabisa. So, ndio huyu hapa ameshaanza kuniambia hivyo. Then he came, akaguza tumbo yangu, akaniuliza umepeleka wapi mtoto wangu? Remember, he didn't know.
No.
Or, okay, I thought he didn't know. I had never told him that I'm pregnant. But now he started asking me, umepeleka wapi mtoto wangu?
And the timelines are
4
the same. 4 months, 4 months, 4 months.
Yes.
So he has a trend. He goes. Yes. But this guy is now loaded. He's writing, he has cars, he has money. How are you going through all this and not asking him for money?
Because, I don't know, by the way. I again, ikitu ya kuwa independent girl. You know when you've lost it, haujuangi you've lost it. So hata uwezi omba msaada, because you think I'm still gonna stand up. Again, I feel like whatever instructions he was under was not to benefit me with that money. Because akini benefit, ata lose on his end.
And so now you've also cut like relationship with your family.
Yeah, I've cut.
You don't talk much.
I don't talk to them. They don't even know what I'm doing, where I am, when, you know, at that point. Now, I'm in this relationship, and of course, he's not helping me financially. It is his joy to see me that way. You know, sasa anaona hiyo kitu ina work. And you see now, being under such captivity, mtu hata akikubaia lunch, ujue Kenya atasema you will do. Mtu hata akikupea chwani, you are under his spell. And our relationship used to be very chaotic, very violent. Alikuwa ananipiga proper. Unajua vita? At that point, I learned how to fight with men now. Now, I would fight him back. And at some point, I think kama these demons that were in me, or whatever was planted in me, used to backfire on him sometimes. Because ingefika point, tumekaa tu hivi, nimrukie tu nianze kumpiga. Namuuliza, ni nini unaniulizanga? Ni nini unaniuliza? And I don't know what I'm asking, but spiritually speaking, ni nini unaniulizanga means, what is this that you keep doing to me, that I'm not even myself? I remember even one time I think the devil's way was either I die or I go to jail. Because at some point, I remember I wanted even to kill him. Tumeka tu hivi kwa hao, we've started an argument, and then I just throw him down. I used to have demonic power. Yani nikikushika tu hivi. Hata kwa bar, I never used to fight with women. Ni mabouncer. Mi naenda kupigana na bouncer. Out of nowhere. I just go and find fault. At that point, my friends used to know, wakiniona nimeenda washroom, they used to say, fuata huyo. Because I'll go, watanisikia parking lot, niko vita. I used to have those, and those fights, I used to fight with someone until I see blood oozing. Then I'd feel good.
Wow.
Yeah. Nikiona damu imemwagika, then
you're good.
I'm calm. Because the demons that are in me, that is what they are baying for. That is what they are asking for.
The blood.
Yeah, the blood. So at sometimes it would backfire on him. So ni yeye nilikuwa sasa napiga. Sijui kasa hiyo hakuwa na renew hiyo kitu yake.
Ama he was not prepared.
Ama he was not prepared.
Yeah.
Yes, so ni yeye naendea. I remember the time I knew that I'll now kill him, I decided, you know what, I don't want to go to jail. Kaa kuna kitu mimi naogopa ni jela, because it is as good as dying. I'm not saying there's no hope for those in jail right now. There's hope, but it is just equal to that. And it's a sort of captivity, because you realize many people who are in jail, hata sio hiyo makosa, they didn't do whatever they've been, sentenced for. So that was my life. Now hiyo ndio life yetu, kazi ni kukimbizana, kazi ni kupigana and all that. Now at that point ameniuliza, mtoto wangu umepeleka wapi? Mimi nimerudi tu kwa hiyo relationship. Lynn, again, I swear, each time he'd appear, as I was saying in my videos, I just swing back. I just go back to him. And I'd go even to his place, najifanya huko wife material, lakini ananiangalia tu anajua. Your life is limited. Your time is very limited. And I remember friends used to tell him, then just leave this girl, because you have this other girl. Leave this one. Aliwambianga, now this is my cousin who was telling me. He told us that he cannot leave you, because whatever he gets from you, he cannot get from anyone else. And so in the sound of someone who is in captivity is, this man loves me.
I'm special.
I'm special. He's the love I'm giving him. I mean, haizi pata kwa msichana mwingine. Na say, I'm just in captivity.
Alafu the delulu in you is telling you he will leave this girl.
The delulu in me is telling me, kwa sababu hata huyu msichana, I mean akona nini?
Yes.
Mimi ndio niko na everything. Yeah. Exactly. So niko zile za wataachana. Sisi we are meant to be,
yes.
You know?
And he can never get
and he can never, you know, haizi nitoka.
Wanasikia kusema anguka na.
So,
in the
name of Jesus. Anguka naye. Ndio hiyo sasa mimi huyo. You know? Yeah. And that was my life. That was that delusional. So nilikuwa naenda hata kama hatuendi naye kwa bar, nitaenda hapo nimgoje mpaka hata kama atakuja usiku. So this was my life. Ningeenda nishinde kwa bar the whole day. Mahali panaitwa Crevastika, now I can mention it. Hata wenye bar hapo walikuwa wanajua msichana mpe pombe, hata bure mpatie, hata tulipa. I was in the books, nilikuwa kwa vitabu, watu wanaandikanga kwa vitabu za bar. Because anyway, I will never miss being in that club. So I would be there morning to night, through the night to the next morning. Naenda nalala kidogo, naoga, bar. That was my life. At that point, I'm not even doing anything for a living. So hata ni pesa tu ya fare. I only need fare to get to the bar. I mean, that's all I need. And then I drink, I fight there, wanifukuze the next day niko hapo. You know, that was my life. And then at this point, remember, I'm moving with men. Sana zurura hata na wanaume sasa, nishakuwa boys. You know, nishakuwa boys, nishanyoa hata nywele, sina time hata ya salon. Nitaenda salon kukaa saa ngapi? Nani atakunywa hiyo pombe? Wow. Nani atavuta hiyo bangi? Nani atavuta hizo masigara? That was me. So nimenyoa nywele, nafuatananga tu na maboys mimi na ma-t-shirt zao. In fact hata naendanga kwao tu navaa kitisho na ki sweatpants, natoka. That was my life. The way I looked, I was so miserable. I think I'll share photos with you. I was just very miserable. So at this point, that's the pregnancy now I'm speaking about. And now I get pregnant again. Now this time, I will not tell him. I just go completely silent. I now went to my mom. I told my mom, I'm pregnant and I want to keep this baby. Of course, my mom will never advise me to abort. Lakini I was very clear. I want a baby. Remember, I've lost three pregnancies.
And mom is not even aware.
She's not aware. She's not aware. This is a story she came to know that the other day. She's not aware. So nimeenda kwake, nimemwambia venye naona huyu kijana hakuna mali tunaweza pelekana. I don't want to get married to him because I'm also scared. You see, the Holy Spirit is always in us. Hata tukiwa sinners, bado anatuconvict. Bado tu anatuongelesha, bado tu anatry kukuguide. So nikanyamaza na hiyo pregnancy. My mom was praying over me now. Now sasa relationship yetu imeanza kukani kama imerudi. Now this pregnancy, I keep going. Now I'm not talking to this guy completely. I've promised myself I want nothing to do with him. Nimerudisha hata ile biashara ya viatu. Mimi na pregnancy yangu tao na gunia tunauzanga tu viatu hivyo. So pregnancy grows until around going to 6 months, let me say. Hapo ndio alijua I'm pregnant. So nimepita ile 4 months. So at this point is a little bit too late. Haezi do anything. But again, he comes back to my life. And coming back to my life, that means my mom out the window, my dad, I have a brother called Alex. So out the window. So I stopped speaking to them now, and I'm pregnant.
Wow.
You know? So at this point now he comes back to me and he's like, so you've been pregnant and you cannot tell me. So this pregnancy belongs to another man. This cannot be my pregnancy. And I told him, yes, it is not yours, it is my pregnancy. It is mine. Yes. And this baby is mine. And guess what? My family is ready even to bring up this baby. So you really don't have to be there. And so that made him feel like, umsichana nikaa ameanza kuamka.
Kuchanuka.
Nikaa ameanza to be awakened. Yeah, so he comes back now full time. Now, I don't live with him, but we see one another every single day. And in my pregnancy, Lynn, mi nilikuwa naenda kukaa kwa bar. Hata kaa sikunywi nakaa tu kwa bar. Mi tu nilikuwa nataka nikae kwa bar. So I used to shower. Again, pregnancy imefika huko nakaa tu kwa bar. Naenda nacheza pool. Nilikuwa naenda kucheza tu pool. Niko tu huko kwa bar na wase. And then I happened to have a friend who was a barmaid. Makes it even worse. Kwa sababu nitaenda hapo kuhanga out na yeye. Mtoto anataka nini chipo? Mletee chipo. Mtoto anataka nini mayai? Watu wa bar sasa ndio wanalea huyu mtoto wako kwa tumbo. You know? So that was the life I used to live. My mom is hearing this for the first time.
Oh my God,
that's the life I used to live. And so at this point now we are hanging out. Tunafika place we are together. And weird things started happening to my pregnancy. Or to me, nikiwa pregnant. Tungekuwa tumekaa tu hivi, I start nose bleeding. Tumekaa tu hivi, I start kutoa damu na mdomo. Tumekaa tu na yeye. Sometimes I hear the kid amenyamaza for an hour. So na nikimwambia twende hosi ananiambia, uko sawa. I think he tried pulling moves. Because I remember one time, let me go back kidogo. One time this guy told me, wewe sio mtu wa kawaida. And I asked him why. He told me, we tu kaa ukijua, we sio mtu wa kawaida. Because I think the things he had tried to do to me, for me to die, were so many. Now, this is the other thing. He tried telling me, you can exist in this world and then exist in this other world. And I'm telling me, zoma science unaniambia sielewi. He tell me, listen, you exist right now, let me say Lynn Ngugi, as a journalist now, and then you can also exist in another world as a lecturer. So I'd tell him, what does that mean? Ati sahi niko hapa, alafu then ananiambia unajua sasa unaweza kwa hiyo world when ni lawyer. So hiyo ni world gani? Now I know it is physical world and spiritual world. He used to call it parallel universe.
Yes.
So according to that secret society, that's how they manipulate you. Now, according to those worlds, now they zima whatever is shining and you get the mediocre side of it. So I never used to, na alikuwa na jam, then anakaa ananiuliza, what would you want in this life right now? I am asking, what do you want right now? Kitu sahi naweza kufanyia sahi. Namwambia, I want happiness, I want love, I want contentment. Ananiambia series of vitu, anything, do cars, business. I think he wanted to recruit me na misi shikanishi.
Yes.
So now at this point, pregnancy, nini tumendelea hivyo, weird things are happening, but God is good. I didn't pass away, neither did my kid. Time comes to give birth. And I'm supposed to give birth on the 23rd, lakini nazurura tu na wanaume. Kwa ma road trips, niko tu uko. My mom at that point cannot reach me. Kwa sababu hata niko nazima tu simu. I just feel like no communication with me. So nazurura tuko, and my mom tells me now she was so mad that time yangu hata ilifika ya kuzaa, but I'm still out there. So the time we came back, I remember, it was the day I was supposed to give birth now was like siku 4 zimepita. So that day I told him, I think nime feel some pains. I think that's labor pain.
Yeah.
Tulikuwa tu tumelala na yeye, like we were just the way you can just chill kwa kitanda tu hivyo. You know that guy aliamka, aliruka kutoka kwa hiyo kitanda akaniambia, okay, I was supposed to meet my mom. Bye. Akanikisapa and he mtu normal, what will he do?
Take you to the hospital.
Take me to hospital. This guy had labor pains. I have a meeting with my mom. By the way, I forgot to mention, he used to, this secret society alikuwa ameingia na mama yake. So they used to coordinate on whatever things used to happen. And he was under rules that he should not overstay in my house because my mom is so prayerful. So saa zingine angepigiwa aulizwe, nini unafanya kwa Winnie sahi? Nini unafanya saizi? Get out of that house right now. So he used to be that guy, atatoka tu aende. Now time to give birth has come. Ametoka ameniwacha. Niko kwa nyumba peke yangu. At that point, I don't know who to call. Remember, we don't talk with mom. So nimekaa tu. And nikatoka kwa balcony. I used to live somewhere on 4th floor. Nachungulia hivi, naona a familiar woman coming. So in my head, I'm like, hey, ule mama anakaa familiar. Venye alikaribia, I'm like, this is my mom. Oh, this is my mom. Sayo unakumbuka that guy has just bolted. So ndio huyu mimi. My mom comes. Akaingia kwa nyumba akaniambia, right now, get out of the house. We are going to hospital. I'm like, mom, sijaoga. Unaenda kuogea kwa hospitali. Get out right now. Where's your bag? Kabeba bag. Akaita cab. Tukaenda hadi Buruburu hospitali. By the time Lynn, I was stepping chini. Missed calls hiyo kijana zilikuwa 8. I picked the 9th call. He asked me, where have you gone? He used to have monitoring spirits in my house. So he'd know when I go, when I come in, who comes in, what happens. So he asked me, where have you gone? I told him, niko hospitali. He told me, okay, sawa, nakuja. Akashikana na kazini yangu, sawa, nakuja in the name of tumekuja to wish her well and everything. In no time, I saw him there. So he was there, akakuja. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, caring boyfriend, he's back. He's come because of our baby. Kumbe ya anakuja tu ku stamp whatever he has not stamped or whatever he had come to do. And at that point now, my mom is there. And when they were leaving, my mom says, tuombe. Oh. Tuombe na unaona nani yako hapo sasa. Yeah. And we pray. You know, this guy was going to his countryside. Ni countryside? Yeah. Ama ni up country. Up country that day. So aliangukanga na gari akienda. And the moment alianguka, akaambia mabeshte wangu, msiambie Winnie nimeanguka na gari. In my head I was like, why? Now I know ndio nisiju. I think he used to shuku like I might know what he's doing. So, and in that car he had carried a cat. This cat we had bought with him. Kumbe it was an altar. And he told me, name this cat. And I named this cat.
Ulita?
Leslie. Kumbe nika altar. Napeana consent too. Yes. Napeana to consent. The other thing he had done, he had bought me like a very big teddy bear. Winnie the Pooh. I'm Winnie. Yeah. But this Winnie the Pooh would never go to my house. Ikae kwake. I think that's where he used to throw spells. Wow. So akiambia Winnie the Pooh, blah, blah, blah. Yes. That's exactly what the Winnie, the human Winnie will do. And so that is what, kapaka kakapotea hiyo siku. Kumbuka tumeombeshwa na pasta. So paka imepotea. My friend tells me walitafuta hiyo paka kwa bush mpaka ikapatikana. Ndio gari iliinuliwa. Juu gari ilikuwa imeanguka design kwa ditch. That after getting the cat is when now he proceeded with his journey. So now it makes sense because that cat, he'd never leave that cat behind. And me, I thought, hey, he loves pets, nini. But yeah, that was that. Yeah. So I'm back in the hospital, nimeadmitiwa, and my mom is there with me, just like, you know, couples, you know, you can see the man is there with the mama, and me, I have my mom. Tukakaa. When ilifika saa sita, it was a private hospital. Ilifika saa sita, my mom was told, now you have to go. Then we were like, what? And na wao wengine wako huku wamekalisha watu wao. Wakasema hapana, hao ni couples. Wewe ni mama. You have to leave. You come tomorrow. You'll find your daughter ameshapata mtoto. I mean, my mom just obeyed. But in my head, I was just like, no, mom, don't go. I really begged her. Usiende, nilikuwa nasikia, I am secure with her. Yeah. But don't go, don't leave me. But she had to go. So akaenda, my labor began. My labor began at 1 a.m. The next day, at 1 p.m., I was still on labor. I had only dilated 3 centimeters. The nurses are just telling me, wewe, tutangoja bako dilate. You can imagine that long. It was so painful. I used to go to the nurses nawambia, I know I have never been in labor, lakini this labor is not normal. Because I was puking yellow things. I am diarrheaing at the same time. The pain is so much. Yeah. And I'm feeling, aki, I'll die. Sina hewa. Yani, it was so bad. Now, at that point, iyo 1:30 p.m., gynecologist akakuja. Akasema, let us examine her because this is not normal. People are coming, they give birth, they go with their children, they come give birth. Akakam, he broke my water. When he broke my water, blood came out. Water came out. And they said, now we have one option. We cannot save both of them. We have to save one of them. Either the mom goes, the kid stays, or the kid goes, the mom stays. And that was my situation at that point. And it was sasa panda juu ya hii kitu mbio theater. Now it is an emergency. So sign vitu zote, I had put some vitu kwa kichwa, so toa hizo vitu, mabangles, hivyo. Sasa niko juu ya hiyo, napelekwa sasa mbio. And all the nurses now, it is that matter of life and death. All the nurses now are running after me, literally. My mom happened to be, this mother is an angel. This mother is an angel. She just happened to be entering the doors of the hospital. Na akaona mtu anapelekwa hivi, akasema, isn't that my daughter? So instead of following us, she took her phone, she called. I want to mention that day she came to take me to hospital. Venye nilimwona kwa balcony akikam to familia, alikuwa ametoka mlimani kuomba, alikuwa ametoka fasting and praying that morning. So she had people who she had left at the mountain. That is the Maimahio, Oasis Reigners Maimahio. That is the altar I can give credit to. So she called them immediately, akawambia, amepelekwa theater, get into prayer. That altar is a deliverance. The gift that the Lord has given there is more of deliverance. Yani, that is the, let's say what, the mission, the grace. The grace. Because every altar has its grace. There are graces that, altars that have graces for business and all that, some for deliverance. Pray. She's gone to the theater. So they got into prayer. Na mimi ndio huyo nimepelekwa theater. Nimeenda, everyone is there. And guess who's missing? The surgeon. Ako Machakos.
Wait, what?
The surgeon ako Machakos. And I'm there lying. I mean, it's emergency. Ajakuja. It's December, yako holiday. Yes. So they are calling him, uko wapi? Niko kwa jam. Unajua December venye hizo area they really get.
Yes.
That surgeon had to have kupanda nduthi, had to take a motorbike all the way to Buruburu. That's when everything started. At that point, they're just trying to calm me down because they can't do anything. And let me tell you, maombi, the power of prayer, we cannot underestimate. You know, when you don't pray, something will happen. And when we pray, something will happen. So choose. Because something will happen either way. Choose. Will you pray or not? Because something will happen either way. So the power of prayer is that I gave birth to that kid. It was, of course, CS. I gave birth to a healthy kid. I was healthy as well, but something was weird. The surgeon came later and told me, you know, in my 30 years of doing surgery, I've never seen someone lose so little blood. Like, you've lost blood, hata hizi jaa kwa chupa ya 300 ml. Nini ya soda. And in my head, I'm like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because people bleed to death. Kumbe, it's because this blood, remember again, it was being, ilikuwa mahali inaitishwa. And I guess maybe their transaction, they had already transacted their things. So I was only left to die. But the power of prayer. I got out of hospital well, and my kid was very healthy. In fact, huyo mtoto hata hakukati kwa incubation or anything. He was healthy. A wonderful, beautiful, I mean, handsome baby boy. And I gave birth to that kid, and I called him my dad. Of course, because I'm not married. You know, in custom, you cannot, kaujaolewa ni, yeah. Now, I go back home with my mom. Now we go to her home, to my parents' home. Now we stay there for about a month. This guy has never talked, has never called, has never texted, has never, ever reached out. Ni mabeste tu anakuja anamwambia, by the way, huyo mtoto anakufanana, copy, it was photocopy kabisa. But he won't talk. I came to understand is when you fail in assignments, when you're in that kingdom, ukifail assignment, you have to go through punishment. So I think alikuwa, sijui alikuwa amepelekwa wilderness gani, alikuwa under that. Sasa nakaa na mom, of course now here I'm secure, I'm safe. But ikafika point, nika feel no, I cannot continue staying here and I have my own place. So I requested my mom
to let you go to your home.
No, we go with her. Tuende na yeye.
Good.
Tuende na yeye atakama ataka for 3 weeks or a month and something.
It's good.
Yes, then I can get someone to help me now with the kid.
Yeah.
Tukaenda na mom and we started now. And my dad was okay. My dad used to come. He used to take care of us and all that. This guy did not chip in the bill, did not chip in anywhere. Did not. So he's not also chipping in right now. So we now started staying together at my place, Juja. Kidogo, 1 month later is when this guy contacts me. The moment he contacted me, he asked me one question: is your mother still in the house? And I told him yes. He said, okay. He went silent again. Now, the next time he contacted me, he texted me and asked, is your mother still there? I didn't understand. Kumbe ni juu maombi inapingana na that altar. So my mom...
Not even how is the baby?
No.
Like, how are you guys? Is your mom still there?
Yeah, remember I was not supposed to give birth.
Yeah.
I was supposed to die.
Yeah.
And I've not died. Sasa hii nimemwongezea assignment. Sasa hii ni kazi ingine nimempea. You know? Damn. So yeah, so one time I decided, let me lie to him. Nikamwambia my mom is not there. Alienda. He told me, okay, I'm coming today. Akakuja. I told mom, tukapanga na mom, jifiche bedroom. Hata juu napanga, mi hata sijui kwani. To me, it's fun. And to me, I don't understand that it's altars that are fighting, and that's why this guy does not want to come when mom is home. So the moment he came, mom ako bedroom, tuko hapa sitting room na yeye tukaongea. Akaniuliza ako wapi mtoto, the kid was in the bedroom as well. So nataka kuona mtoto. So I told mom, come and say hi to him. The moment he saw my mom, alifreeze too. Alikani kama akakata kwa edge ya kiti, because now he looked as though fear imemuingia. And in my head, I'm like, doesn't he like my mom? Or what is happening? So the kid comes, akaona mtoto and all that. Mind you, hakukuja na anything. He came when he was drunk. Alikuwa ameisha, alikuwa amekonda, hakuwa na pesa. He was broke. Kanyota kalikuwa kameenda. So when he came, akaniambia, twende hivi, tukanunue kitu, turudi. Let me tell you, hiyo trip ya kwenda kurudi Lynn, nilirudi nikaambia mom, I'm now okay. Sasa unaweza enda home. Sasa unaweza enda home. Niko sawa. Mom aliniangalia zile za, are you fine? Na niyo trip tumetoka tu tumerudi. Nikamwambia, hauna fare? Hata ndio hii thao. Shika fare. Nilisaidia hata mom kumpakisha vitu haraka sana.
Like, enda.
Get out. I'm fine. Nikamwambia, now that this guy will be coming to the house, atakuwa anatuangalia, and also I'll just look for a help. So I'm okay.
Good.
You go. Mom did not oppose. She just went. Lynn alienda, and from that day I stopped talking to her.
Again.
Yeah, again. I've gone back to the captivity. I'm now under his spell. Amefanya ile kitu amezoea kufanya, amefanya. And now I'm not speaking to mom, I'm not speaking to dad. And remember, dad is the one who told me I'll always take this kid to the clinic. So every time you have clinic, nitakuwa na wakujia na wapeleka na warudisha. This guy told me, don't tell your father. See me, I'll be taking you guys with this car. Tuko na gari. Hii gari ni kanyota. Remember? So now, that was the life. Now he would come every single day. Anakuja hapo na madaipa. Suddenly now money comes back. Okay, this something used to happen. Sanye mimi nimemtenga. Alikuwa hata anakonda, anaisha, anachaka. But akirudi
anakuwa. Ana blossom.
Ana blossom sasa. Ana glow. Anapata ile glow sasa. I think it's because now he's close to whatever he oozes, whatever energy or whatever from. So now, yeah, life continues. And at this point, I'm no longer speaking to my parents. So nakuanga kwa hao peke yangu, or I got a help. A help came, and at some point nikafukuza hata help. So I think your help alikuanga naomba. I think. So because nilianza tu kufeel I don't need you around. Zinakatana. I don't need you around. Now, this kid had never gotten sick or anything. But imefika around 4 months. Tumefika ile 4 months. Mtoto ameacha kugrow. Mtoto ni kila time nikienda clinic, the weight ni ile. Mtoto, God knows, he would breastfeed. He would breastfeed until I'd be drained. He would breastfeed so much. My mom one time told me, this is not normal. You know, it's like a demonic appetite. Ni kama huyu ni waku
kunyonya
akumalize. You know? This kid ange breastfeed, amalize, akunywe. Appetite ni hivi, but akui. Nikienda hospitali, nurses will just tell me, umekataa kunyonyesha mtoto, umekataa kufeed mtoto. I'd really cry. Because I know how much I'm giving this kid. I know how much I'm feeding this child. This child would, even during the hours of the night, the way I'd wake up and just feed him. Now, this guy started a trend that I had never noticed before. He started going every Friday to Naivasha. Naivasha, I understand there's their temple there. So by 7, he would tell me, by 7, I need to be there. So there's nothing that would come in between. Hakuna aungewahi msikiza akuwe na engagement on a Friday. He had to be there by 7. So at some point I got curious. Nikamuliza, unaendanga kufanya nini Naivasha every Friday? And he told me, I take my mom to hospital. Me, in my head, nikaingia hiyo box. Nikamuliza, nimsiku wapi? I can tell my mom to pray for her. Because I knew my mom.
Yes.
My mom prays for people and they get healed. So, huyu msee ananiambia, sijui mambo za reproductive, hivyo tu machenga. Now in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, this is so loving. Anamtoanga Murang'a, anampeleka Naivasha, wow. In my head, it doesn't click. From Murang'a, how many level 5 hospitals do we have? In between all those towns. Yes. Kumbe they go to that temple. And at that point, wakirudi.
And you've never met the mother? He's never introduced you to his family?
Never. I had only met the mom once na ilikuwa by mistake. Hata I think mamake hakupenda kunimit. Because she loved the other girl.
Oh. There's still another girl.
Remember, there's still another girl. And I'm pregnant. And that time I was pregnant, the other girl was pregnant. Hey, Lynn, ukifungwa, ukiwa under a spell, let me tell you, those things you cannot question. You are okay. Oh, ako pregnant. How many months? Oh,
you are even asking.
Oh, yeah. So now I'm like, oh, at least my son has a baby, whatever. His sister or brother. Yeah. So that's how it was. And I cannot question, and I'm okay with that. A normal girl cannot be in that relationship.
Yeah.
A normal girl cannot continue sitting there.
Because what are you telling me?
What are you telling me? Nikiwa pregos nikienda na yeye ndio yake ya 4 months sasa inatokea, sasa ya 5 months inatokea. Tulikuwa tumeachana sijui na how long. So yeah, so that was my life, Lynn. And there's nothing you can question. And knowing that I'm a very stern girl when it comes to nikiona mambo haiendi venye inafaa, I know. And I will get out of...
I mean, you are writing tech articles, you are writing business articles, and you're here ati ako how many months?
Ako sawa. Hata unaulizanga kaa ako sawa. Ilikuwa imefika point hata huyo dem ananitexting kuniza ako huko. Na mimi niko ametoka sahi. Yes. Whoa. Yes.
And now here he's telling you he gotta take his mom to
hospital
Naivasha.
In Naivasha. And now that time it is 2020, is it? Yeah, 2021 now beginning.
Yes.
So curfew, remember we had curfew. So, and that guy would make sure before the curfew hits, kabla time ya curfew, he'd bring me fish, 2 fish, even. They used to be so big, Lynn. Mi sijaona samaki ka hizo. So I understand they were from the underworld. It's the samaki. And the moment I started taking those samakis, and alikuwa analeta na yeye hakuwa anakula. Hata nikipika hiyo samaki niipike ikayaje. Because alikuwa analeta already imepikwa. It is not raw, fried.
And then now again the Delulu is telling you the way he cares.
The way he cares.
He would rather have me eat than he wants me to be healthy.
He wants me to be
nutrients.
Nutrients.
Oh my God.
Za samaki. Zinakuanga B2 ama omega 3. Omega 3. Na mtoto. So akuli. Hata akikuja because I'd shallow fry it, now I'd do like a stew. Hawezi guza. Ataka hapo. But he would make sure nimekula. Wow. Asiende nitupe. You know, that was, I guess that was the mission. So the moment I started taking that fish, maziwa dried. My body, I started, nilikuwa sana naisha tu. Mimi na mtoto wangu tunaisha tu. Huyo mtoto ameturn sasa hata anakanga kani yellow. Huyo mtoto amekonda grow. Lean grow. You know the way kwanza to newborns grow real quick. Haraka. Grow at all. Now I'm in depression because my kid is not growing. I don't know who to run to. I remember 2 weeks to my baby passing, I had texted my mama and I had told my mom, and she tells me she never saw that message. I told her, mi kwenye imefika hata sina maziwa ya kunyonyesha mtoto. Kama ni nan, mtoto anatake in nan, hata kaa siku sijui ngapi nan imeisha. Nan ni expensive, sina pesa. Yes, huyu analetanga, but I'm feeling as a mother, I am not there for my child. It is very painful when you feel you're not there for your kid and you're helpless. And this kid needs to feed, this kid needs to grow. So I had texted her, kwenye imefika, I don't even have milk, breast milk, and I don't know how I can even bring this kid up. I feel like I don't have the capacity. But now I think I should bring this kid home, mumle, and me, I'll go out there and look for life. And that's what I had texted my mom. She never saw. In my head, what does the devil say? Wanakuignore hata wakupendi.
Rejection.
They don't like you. kwa nini unangangana? They don't like you. So yeah, so that happens to now as we go on, nakula tu masamaki zangu ma omega 3 ndio hizo, and then this guy is still making his visits. Now he started doing weird things. He'd appear at my door at 2 p.m. Ndamuona tu hapo hajatoka ba, lakini anakuja kama amehema.
2 a.m. usiku.
Nikifungua mlango ndio huyo. Kuna Denisha mfungulia alikuwa tu na vest 2 a.m. Nikamuuliza umetoka wapi? Vest tu.
But trousers.
Na yako na trouser.
Okay.
Ninaweza epa.
Huwezi viona tena.
Unaenda ukiendanga. So anakuja na muuliza umetoka wapi, na mimi I can tell he's not drunk. So he comes, amehema sana. He's like, I need to sleep with the baby. Mimi namshozi, I don't know where you're from. I'll just make a mattress for you. Ndakutandikia hapa chini mimi nilale na mtoto kwa. Somehow Lynn, during this time I was with this child, I never used to give him like full custody in terms of akivisit. Custody as in kumwangalia ati niende mahali and all that.
You stay there.
Nilikuwa nakaa hivi namwangalia. Imagine hata mimi sijui naangalia nini, but I'm scared. I can't leave that child with him. Na nikienda bedroom, nitaka kwa mlango ya bedroom na wachungulia. Nikiingia hivi kitchen, nitaka nikichungulia hivi. Nione nini anafanyia mtoto. Because I don't know. I think the Spirit of God used to still quicken me. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. One time he's standing with the kid kwa balcony. Anarudi ananiambia ati mtoto ametupa pacifier chini. How can the pacifier just fall when you're away from the rail? So that means you are standing. He used to do some things that to me used to look like, you don't even love this kid. Ama hauna haja na huyu mtoto. So time goes. Time goes, na ikafika point where I wanted to go visit my cousin, and I told him, take us to Thika. I need to visit my cousin. Ule cousin mwenye ameniintroduce kwa huyu amepata mtoto. So I'm like, I need to go and visit because akona newborn, and maybe I can give him hugs here and there about nimeshalea mtoto sasa najua. Saa mimi ni pro. So kwa zile za, I can't take you guys there. You remember, this guy is separating me from anyone who can tell something is going wrong. So even to my cousin told me, no, nikamwambia, it's Corona time. I can't have my newborn in a matatu or a cab. I don't know, I used to fear because of he's very fragile. At last akakubali. But let me tell you, this day that he agreed was on a Sunday. This day, Lynn, he comes to my house, akatuchukua. Remember, he's driving, akatuchukua, and I said, I need to pass through the market because wewe enda tuko na newborn like that. This is the one time I left this guy with my baby. Na nikamuonesha, ndio hii maziwa hapa, ndio hii nana hapa, ndio hii nini. I used to carry, responsible mother. Nikaingia kwa market. Kuingia kwa market, Juja market, the way it is made, it is so big. Iko na upstairs, iko na down, iko na nini hizo marose and all that. I'm telling you, nilingia kwa hiyo market, I'm buying nyanyas here, nenda na buy kitunguu pale, nenda na buy dania, confusion.
Na zote ziko hapa.
Na zote ziko hapa kwa. Neza zipata
you can
kwa
find them at
moja.
the same place.
Yes. But I'm moving here. I took like an hour. I had left. And I remember as I was walking to the market like this, I was just looking at the car like this. Na akaona venye nashinda nikiangalia ka roll kioju. So ikabaki, but I'm like, why am I paranoid na uni babake? So ndio mimi nyanya hapa, dania pale, nini pale. 1 hour kwa market. Mimi hata mimi nikirudi nikajiuliza all that, what was I doing? Because now I think I used to have moments where I would snap back and then back to the spell and then I'd snap back. So we get in the car and he tells me, nikapata mtoto ameshika tu mtoto but mtoto amelala. He tells me, we won't go to your cousin straight. We'll first go to Murang'a niwapigishe maraundi huko. And then we come back to Thika. Anyway, I don't even know the point of that, but I think kuna vitu alikuwa anafanya in his whatever. There's something he needed to do and lazima tungejifikisha huko. Now we come back to Thika, and the moment we got to my cousin's place, alituambia, shukeni, mzigo ndio yo, mtoto ndio huyu. Nikamwambia, si nibebesha hata mzigo. Hapana, niko na haraka. Alituacha kwa vumbi akaenda. I don't know why he was running. So in my head I was like, why is he acting so weird? Maybe he thought the kid might die at that point, or maybe he thought, I don't know. So I remember holding my kid and telling my baby, we shall remember these days, we shall remember. And I cried. I told my baby, don't worry. Nikaenda nikaita wochi wakatusaidia and akanisaidia mzigo hadi
Kwa your
uko
cousin.
juu kwa my cousin's place. And we spent the day well, and because my cousin has a newborn, I have a newborn, they slept in one bed together. And when it got to 6, he calls me. Unakumbuka venye alituacha pale kwa parking lot, akanicall. Akaniuliza, uko wapi? Nikamwambia I'm still at my cousin's place. I'm even thinking we can sleep. Akaniambia hapana, mwezi lala huko. Wacha niwakujie sahi. I'm like, so then you give us 1 more hour just to hang out. Hapana, I'm coming right now. Anzeni kushuka. In my head, loving boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Huyu anatupenda, kai, hata hataki tuchelewe. Hataki hata giza itupate ukudhika. He drives us back. And the moment Lynn, I got into his car like this, sorrow just engulfed me. Like, nilikatu, I just went silent, just holding that baby. I was just sad. And he told me, oh, you've been told things by your cousin. He was always paranoid as well. So he always thought that my cousin will reveal some things about him. Oh, umeambiwa vitu, ndio maana hauongei. Then I was like,
this is your cousin,
yeah,
the one that introduced the both of you.
Yes.
He can't even come to see the baby.
No. Aizingia. Maybe, I don't know.
And now he's here thinking your cousin has said something.
Has said something to me.
Yeah.
And so he's like, niambie.
So he's gaslighting you.
He's gaslighting me. Tell me. What has he told you? Tell me. So I'm like, nothing. I just feel I want to be silent. We get to my place. Hapo Juja ndio nilikuwa nakaa. Akashuka gari. Akakimbiza mtoto kwangu mbio mbio. Akaenda akamweka mtoto. Yani nikipanda mimi na bagi ya mtoto tulipitana kwa mlango. So I'm like, because I'm tired, nimeshinda huko nje, can't you just sleep for today? Remember, we don't live together. Si ako na mtu kwa nyumba.
Sawa, naishi pamoja.
Sasa hata wame move in.
Oh, Winnie.
Sasa hata wame move in. Na mimi tukianzana ama nikiget pregnant, he never used to live with them. Sasa wame move in.
Now they are together.
Now they are together. Oh. Now they are one. Lakini wataachana tu.
In your head.
In my head.
He loves me.
He loves
and
me.
what he gets from me,
yes,
he can't get from anywhere
else. That is what I'm telling myself. So he goes, and I'm left there with my kid. And that day, Lynn, I looked at my baby, and he was looking at me weirdly. That kid was giving me a weird look. It's like he wanted to tell me something. It's like he wanted to say something, but he can't. He's a baby. He just stared at me. He was just staring at me. And I looked at him and I started crying. And I really broke down. I told him, never leave me. You see, you're all I have. Never leave me. Promise me. Promise me. I started shaking him. Promise me you'll never leave me. You see, you're all I have. Even your father does not love us. You're all I have. Promise me. Nate, promise me. Yeah, so of course this is a baby, he would speak. And I remember I was very sad that evening. It's okay. Yeah, it's well. It's well. I don't know, I just relived that moment. And so night comes. As usual, we sleep. We used to sleep in one bed. Hata baby sikuwa namlalisha kwa baby cot because again I am all by myself, so it was okay to just sleep with him on one bed. And yeah, so trying to recover.
It's okay.
So night came and I remember stima zikapotea. It was my token. So token lazima sijui ungeenda wapi na uko chini ukaeke token. Do you remember when those two ninis used to be?
Uko chini.
Yeah. So when I came back, we had a normal night. I just took my dinner and he was there. I fed him. Remember at this point, Sinanga breast milk. So all he depends on is naan. Yeah. So I just fed him and we slept and I changed him and we slept. And when we slept, kama kawaida, tukaamka saa 7. He was again he was a very jovial kid, very very happy kid. Lakini sasa tukaamka nikakafeed tena usiku I remember even my trip to the kitchen. I warm the naan, I come back, I feed him, and then ameshiba, I nikamwekelea hapa, and kama kawaida kubap. You know, as a mama, you just make sure he's okay. Yes. And so I checked whether he's ako sawa, diaper, I changed him, and I got him back to bed. And on getting back to bed, I just lay like this, and we were looking at one another, and he was playing with me. He was just playing with me. Anashinda tu akifanya hivi. He just wants to play, and then laughing. So I'm like, lala, tulale. Because remember, I'm tired. I'm so tired due to tumetoka nje. And as a new mama, I have never been out of the house. So nikaka trick, baka kakalala. So now we slept. That was the deepest sleep I've ever gotten in. The deepest sleep. And this sleep, wakati nilipoamka, I woke up like ni kama mtu alikuwa mahali in total darkness. I know I wasn't born again, but I know that was not sleep. And I just woke up. And on waking up, I just looked at the time. It was 6:30 a.m. When you look at the time, the next thing you do is just look at your baby. And so when I looked at my baby, I realized he's closed his eyes, but this is not the normal closing of the eyes. So I called him, Nate, move. Lakini nikimshika, he's very warm. Hata kichwa, he's warm. Nate. Hamki. Nikaruka bed. I remember, ni venye tu umelala, so I didn't have anything. So nikamka, I just dressed real quick na trouser, hata sikuvaa anything up. So nikamchukua, nikampeleka sitting room. I know first aids za mtoto here and there. Yeah. So nikamlalisha flat, because I thought the bed, labda bed imekaa venye siezi, I can't tell what's going on with him. So nikamlalisha, when I started doing and examining, he had a pulse here, he had a pulse here. Yeah. So I could feel he has a pulse. And he's still very warm. But mtoto venye amefunga macho, huyu mtoto afungangi macho hivi. So at the moment, I just shouted my neighbor's name. Alikuwa naishi chini yetu. A guy who used to be a good friend of mine. Yeah. So I shouted his name, Mandela. Come, my baby is sick. Toka utupeleke. Because he had a car. Yeah. Toka utupeleke. Na unitokea na t-shirt, because na mimi nakimbia down the stairs with nothing. Barefoot with nothing ukuju. So nakimbia tu. Toka. So we meet down there. And he tells me, gari yangu imefungiwa. So I tell him, let's run to Thika Road. Yes. Where I lived, ni hapa, then the Lami the super highway to hapa. So it was we ran to Thika Road, and now we are stopping any car that is stopping. And at that point, I'm like, Nate, you cannot leave me. Because I think it started hitting me. Huyu hata asongi. He's going. Then sasa hata unaona like, anaenda tu akilegea. A guy comes na tukapanda. I don't remember the model of that car, but it was a man sent by God. Wakatubeba. Where I lived was about 300 or 500 meters from Juja Modern Hospital. I go to Juja Modern. Ndo mimi nimeshuka gari hata ikiendanga na mtoto mpaka ndani. Yako wapi daktari? You can imagine now a mama in distress. That was me at that point. Where is the doctor? Ako washroom. Mi hata naenda washroom. Nimpelekea mtoto. Nini huyu mtoto amefanya? So akaniambia, twende umlalishe pale. So I think this doctor had already known. So I think he just did the formalities of the stethoscope. Yeah, akafanya the formalities. And then at that point, I'm telling him, just tell me the truth. Is he there? Because I'm telling him he's warm. Ona ni warm. Ona ako warm. Ona ebu mguze hapa. Ona pulse. Ona. He told me he's not there. He passed away. Hey, mi nafikirianga niko strong. That was, I think I just went into a daze. I think nilienda tu. Because nilichukua huyo mtoto, nikamtoa diaper. Nikaenda nikapeleka diaper washroom. Nikarudi, nikadress huyo mtoto. Nikamfunga, venye tu nilikuwa nimezoea kukafunga, nikamshika. And I walked out. With the baby. And I went to Thika Road. And I said, this kid is all I had. All I had. Because I didn't have a life. I didn't have my life. I don't have a job. I don't have my parents because I no longer speak to them. I don't have friends. This is all I had. Lynn, that was all I had. All I had has gone. I just ran to Thika Road, Capital Service Lane, and I said, I'm going to kill myself. This kid is dead. So hata gari ikinikanyaga ni mimi tu itaua. So siwezi stakiwa kuua mtoto. And I went, and at that point, nikienda kusi, you know, there are this metal whatevers that divide the services, the lanes. Nikienda kuruka, the nurse akanishika nyuma. Akaniambia, don't do that. Akaniambia, it is well, don't let mtoto. Nikamwambia, hapana, siwezi kupatia huyu mtoto. I want to die. I want us to be crushed right now on this Thika Road. This is all I had. Akaniambia, no, let's go back to the hospital. Because the hospital is just by the road.
Yeah, Juja Modern is by the road.
Iko tu kwa barabara. So hapa kwa entrance kuna hii, there's that kamawe hapo. Yeah. I went and sat there, and she sat with me. And I told her, I just need you to let me kill myself. Because I don't know where I'm going or what I'll do after this. This is all I had in this world. Na ameenda. Nitafanya nini kwa hii dunia? You know, he had become my happiness, my all. Nitafanya nini? Lynn, I want to take you back a bit. And I want to say that my mom, before my child passed on, my mom used to come to me and she'd tell me, God says you're his servant and you need to serve God. I used to ignore. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. The 4th time I told my mom, listen, mom, religion is very personal. So don't give me pressure. I was very rude. I was a very rude daughter to my mother. Don't give me pressure. Religion is very personal. So I want to tell you that this child was literally my God, you know, because nimekata hata wito. So God doesn't matter to me like this child does. And on the other side of this story, I want to say that the moment you have other gods and you hold them so close than God, and you are a servant of God, God will take away those things and you will serve God. Atachukua, if he needs atoe watu 10 ya kufikie, atawatoa. And you will serve God. Wow. You cannot have any other gods beside God. That's a commandment. I had a God.
Nate had become your God.
Nate had become my God. And I couldn't serve God because I have Nate. I couldn't serve God because this is the life I wanted. I wanted to be, but I always used to say, I don't want to get married. I want to have kids and money, and don't talk to me about marriage. So yeah, so my God has gone and I feel crushed and now I need to go. So I'm with my neighbor. He calls that guy.
Oh, Mandela.
Yeah, Mandela now my neighbor. Akacall sasa ule. You know, the previous night, kabla mtoto wa pass, I had put my phone hapa kwa jeans, kwa nyuma.
Yeah.
Nikienda washroom, the phone fell in the toilet. By design, communication was cut. So there's no one I'd call or communicate with at that point. That was just a symbol. And the same thing happened when my dad came to pass this year. So I don't know what that symbol is. So you see, I didn't have a phone, hata sina namba za watu, so I can't tell anyone. I only have my father's number and my mom's number. And now the guy's number, I tell Mandela. Mandela calls the guy. And the guy just comes. Yetu amesimama tu hali, ako emotional. He's not bothered. He's not bothered, Lynn. Mi hata namkimbilia. Nothing.
For real?
Nothing. So he's there just telling me, unajua, hata mimi leo sijalala.
Please. So, a kid just died.
A kid just died. Ati hata mimi sijui kwa nini sijalala. Ati hata ona makani zilikuwa zimejaa kwa gari yake. Ati hata nimelala hapa nikikunywa.
Oh my God.
I think it's because he knew what was about to come.
Yeah.
So he needed to be numb for some reason. So yeah, he didn't cry. The people kwa hospitali now, they are leading us. They're like, oh, ndo baba ya mtoto. Okay. So wanatuone huruma like this, but this guy is just walking majestically. No tear came out of, no remorse, no nothing. So tumefungiwa mahali, you know, they have to give you that talk and they have to tell you everything is okay. Now wakaita reverend and they're like, now let us pray so that this kid may rest. I asked them to pray to who? This God you want to pray to should have saved my child. Which is this God? What are we praying about? My child has passed away. You're coming to tell me we pray. I don't want those prayers. So the reverend is like, no, you know, we must do that. It is formalities here. That's how we do things. Then I'm like, no, sitaki kuomba, and I hold my dead child. Sikuwa naachilia huyo mtoto. Sikuwa namwachilia. Nikaambiwa saa badala ya kumshika mlalishe hapa basi, na said na mimi naenda kulala hapo pia. So I'm sleeping beside him, just nashika nywele yake hivi. I'm just doing that. So the reverend akaomba anyway. That guy pia yatu anaangalia hivi, of course yeye na maombi hapana. So at this point my father comes and my bro. My mom alikuwa kwa prayer warrior, alikuwa kwa mlima. So she had to travel. No one told her. They just told her come to hospital right now. But she tells me she sensed that things had gone that way. So they all come and I'm there. I'm very so before they come, mimi nimeacha mtoto, nimerudi sasa kwa nyumba. Sasa natembea like a mad woman to hiyo Thika Road huko tu. Natembea tu huko. So I went to my neighbor and I was like, what do you have? What do you have that I can drink here? What do you have? Remember mtoto nimemwacha. Hata hao wajui nimeenda wapi. I went and looked for alcohol. Lynn. I said now from today, I went back to my life of drinking. They came, now we took the baby. I was told to go to the police station, niandikishe hizo vitu, what. And we took the baby to the morgue and that was that.
Did they tell you the cause of death?
No, at this point at this point we do not know.
Okay.
Lakini watakuja wafanye
later
nini before, after. Yes, so we went back now with my mom, my dad and my brother, and also I think it was a friend or a cousin, I don't remember, but someone. So wakaniambia now let's go home together. Nikamwambia no, I'm not going with you, I'm going with that guy. Sasa nimeanza saa kufuata baba ya mtoto. Naambia mimi siendi. So because waliona wawezi niacha peke yangu, they had to leave my brother behind. And because of course I know my brother hata niuliza nikikunywa, and when I smoke whatever I want to smoke, and that is the life I started living from then. Hatujazika mtoto, but mimi kwangu ilikuwa ni kama bar na bar ilikuwa ni kwangu. Nikienda kubuy breakfast naenda na buy na mzinga. Before I take anything, it is downing alcohol. And that became my life Lynn. Until the point we are coming to bury my child, this guy has never shown remorse, lakini he'll buy alcohol kwa wingi. Na kabla tuziko huyu mtoto tulikuwa tumesimama mahali one time. And no, that was after. But before we zika this child, Alex had borrowed, my brother now, had borrowed his car to go and buy us food hapo kwa center, Juja. And when he went, Alex came back by himself. Na akanipigia, akaniambia shuka saizi hapa chini nikwambie kitu. So I went and asked him what's wrong. Akaniambia gari nimeanguka nayo Thika Road. Gari ya huyu mjamaa. So when this guy had that, a normal man will react. Because when you scratch a man's car, they really react. This one did not react. I think my bro was also
to go.
This time my kid is in the morgue, hata tujamzika.
And your bro gets an accident.
And my bro alienda akiwa amepita, akiwa ameingia highway. Hiyo gari kwa inakaa kuna mtu alikuwa hapo ndani. Iliisha. That car did not even take us to the burial or whatever it was meant to do. This is my brother now. So in my head I'm like, hizi vifo ni nini zinatufuata hivi? So sisi juu tuko kwa world, tukunywe pombe. Hizi vifo, you know, yes tunashika lakini hatushiki. You know those things that you cannot comprehend. We bury this child. On the day of burial, I remember I started saying, tuchome huyo mtoto, tusimzike. Mimi nilikuwa nasema, mbona tunaenda kuzika mtoto? Tumchome juu tuko nenda kumzika Nakuru. So I had that thing of, now I'm totally detached. I want nothing to do with this burial and everything. And sasa nilikuwa nenda nikisimamanga kila mahali nikibaingi tu pombe. Nikifika burial hivi, in fact nilichelewa mazishi ya mtoto wangu. Mimi ni mlevi. Nafika nimelewa. Nguo nilikuwa nimevaa ya white imechafuka. I just look miserable. Manywele sijui zinakaaje. And now my aunts now make fun and say, nini hizo ulikuwa umekunywa siku ya mazishi? Ulikuwa unanuka vibaya. But I was that gone. And I remember, because nilikuwa nimepata program imeshaanza. Because watu walishakuja mazishi, mama ya mtoto hajawahi fika. Akona huko nje ya Naivasha Nakuru highway ni kukunywa tu anakunywa. Now when I got there, I told them, I went and said, na niko na tribute. So they're like, my God. And because this is the mother,
we have to respect it.
Mimi na ulevi zangu and read the tribute. And I remember now everything after that went so fast, and tukaenda kwa graveside. Tukiwa kwa graveside, now I don't know what came over me, and now I want to get into kwa hiyo kaburi, kwa hiyo grave. Nataka kuingia, I'm just like, bury me with my child. Nizike na huyu mtoto. Na sasa hiyo nakaa nimeshika huyu babaya this late kid.
Yes.
Nakaa nimemshika. Then I see my auntie coming. She's called Pastor Mary. God bless her so much. She's called Pastor Mary. Anakuja, anaongea na tongues rakaterebo zayara. Anakuja anatuachanisha na huyu mtu. Na mimi namwendea. Namwambia, mimi nataka nizikwe hapa ndani. So naenda kujirusha na shikwa. Narudia huyu. My auntie, yeah, it was that dramatic. So kumbe my aunt has discerned what has been going on and who this man is. So she's in the, anakuja kutuachanisha in the spirit as she's doing the tongues, as she's praying in tongues. But I'm like, no. Nashiko naambia msinishike, mimi nataka huyu. Na yeye huyu hataki. I'm literally like just hanging like this on his arm. So yeah, we bury the kid, and after that I go and I say, najua nimekosea, nikanil mbele ya aunti yangu nikamwambia niombe. After that, kuamka hivi nilirudi na watu Nairobi kama mimi ni mgeni, niliacha watu huko. I went back with that man to Nairobi. Namfuata Lynn, being under a spell, you are a shell. You do not have your own mind, you don't have your own will, you don't have wisdom, you do not have discernment. You're a shell. So I just kept following him. Na yeye wanataka wanihepe. Ilikuwa imefika point, I think hizo majuju zimewak sana, pia yeye amechoka. Because I'm just always following him. So I follow him, na tukarudi Nairobi. Kurudi Nairobi, he took the car at some point, started driving that car. Now I guess at that point, I'm with my brother still and a cousin of mine. And him and his friend. So at that point, anataka tumade, I think. Anaendesha gari usiyo nje ya Ruaka when it used to be constructed, kulikuwa na mawe all over and everything. So anaenda tu akigongesha vitu everywhere. Until a point, now the tire ikatani hivi and we couldn't move any further. And now I was screaming and calling out my mom and saying, my God, this guy wants to kill us. The moment iyo gari ilisimama, I just took someone's phone and I called my mom and I told my mom, Mom, hapa kwenye nimeketi, I can see a very tall being. And this thing is not godly. I could see a very tall black being standing just there. And my mom told me, let's pray. And so we prayed and that thing just went away. And he said, tell that guy, asiguze hiyo gari tena. Give me someone who I can speak to. Awaendeshe hadi home. And then we got home safe. From there, Lynn, now my life became him. Yeye. Nikiamka ni yeye, nikilala ni yeye. Kumbuka amepata mtoto. Si amelose mtoto. So akona mtoto kwa nyumba. Yeye hana. He's not mourning.
God.
He's not mourning. He's already done his sacrifice. And his life has gone on. He has a family now. Remember, huyu mtu nilimit kama hawako pamoja. Yeah.
Sai, him wako pamoja, yeah. And he has a functional family.
Yes.
You have nothing.
I have nothing. I've been left by myself. Now he has to live with his family. Akona mtoto. In fact, hata saa zingine atatoka aseme, mtoto ananihitaji. Akisema mtoto ananihitaji, nakumbuka mtoto wangu. I get deeper and deeper into depression. Says Lynn, I will not hide. I will say it today because God saved me and cleansed me. I used to smoke like 5 blunts of bang every day. Na bado hazishiki. I used to take vodka like this. Mzinga 1, mzinga 2, mzinga na nimekaa, nimesimama tu. At that point, I never used to take food or anything. Nikiamka nifika pombe. Nikiamka na unajua sasa hiyo umechangiwa tu pesa.
Yeah, funeral.
Sasa wamenipea pesa ya kukunywa. Sasa nilikuwa nakunywa proper. So one time tuko na yeye hapo Thika, tuko kwa a building at the topmost, tuko rooftop. And we are standing there and that guy starts playing with me. Alafu akaanza sasa kuwa serious, anataka kunirusha. Niko na hii si mchezo, kumbe huyu mse anataka kunirusha. So he's pushing me and I'm resisting and then he's pushing me even further and I started screaming. The neighbors came and I told the neighbors, huyu anataka kuniua, anataka kunitupa huko chini. And then he says, we babe, kwani ujui mchezo? Akaanza kucheka, tana huyu hata amelewa. And I'm telling them I'm not drunk. I know playing and someone wants to throw me off a building. Now, that happened once. The next time what happened is that we were in the car lane. We started arguing. Remember, hii relationship ni ama violence. Na ni violence design, tukikosana nasikianga tu kujiua.
Now he got another car.
Now that car alishatengenezewa. Alishatengenezewa ile gari. It took forever.
Yes.
Na akatuambia by the way hata tuchange pesa juu ni brother yangu ameangusha gari. naanza kukopa mapesa, pesa sinanga. Anyway, but alishatengenezesha hiyo gari.
So now you're arguing.
So now we are arguing in the car and he starts beating me, mabari. Now the moment he started beating me, I started now also fighting back. Na nikamwambia, each time you hit me nangoa kitu kwa gari yako, ukinigonga nangoa kitu. Akasimamisha mahali panaitwa Ndarugo pale Thika Road, and it is at night. It is like 11. Akashuka gari yake, tulikuwa tunaelekea Thika, alikuwa na ofisi huko, so we were going there. Akashuka gari yake, akazunguka, akakuja akanitoa kwa gari, akaniweka chini kwa lami. Akaniambia na usinifuate, and I'm gone. Na usiwahi nifuata. Akarudi. Kabla afike huku, nilikuwa nishadandia mlango ya gari. Believe it or not, that guy dragged me on Thika Road. He dragged me. I'm there, I'm screaming. I'm trying to tell him, stop. Naumia. I have a dress, so dress isha. So it is meat on tarmac. I had, nyama ilikuwa tu imenitoka huku. And I just gained strength from somewhere and I pushed myself forward na nika manage kuingiza the better part of my body ndani. So I managed to kuingia ndani ya gari. So the moment we got to Thika, so tumefika hapo and I'm not talking, he's not talking. So tumeenda and he got into his hospital, into his office, and I told him I'm not going to come with you. Nikabaki kwa gari because I'm in trauma, I'm in pain, but I can't go to hospital again, sina pesa yoyote. So the moment alitokanga 5 a.m. Venye alitoka 5 a.m. tukarudi kwangu, akani drop kwangu. The moment he dropped me and I went to my house, I sat there at the balcony. And for him to go back to Thika, he has to go make a round and then lazima nimuone akirudi, lazima nione gari kirudi Thika. And as I sat there, I won't hide, I was smoking. Bang. And I made a prayer. Why I'm saying that is because I want whoever is in captivity, in that drunkenness, in all that, ajue, God hears you in whatever state you're in. God cannot say, ni mlevi simskizi, apana. He will hear you. And so I just told God, you see that man right there, that man passing with that car, God, help me to never see him in my life. Nisaidie Mungu nisiwahi muona tena kwa maisha yangu. Truth be told, I've never seen him to date. But after that, he kept texting me and telling me, you killed that baby. Tell everyone the truth. Why are you hiding? Now, gaslighting. I started now suicidal thoughts. I even got to a point of killing myself. I wanted to throw myself off as I finished now how I got to meet Christ and how I got born again. Iyo siku ikafika, it was a Thursday night. And I said, I'll kill myself today. Hizi message zimezidi. Hii kuni guilt trip imezidi. Hadi nikaanza kujiuliza, huyu mtoto kweli alibap? Ama alichoke? Ama sasa naanza sasa kujiblame. Ama nilifanya nini? Ama naweza kuwa ni ukweli I killed this kid. So gaslighting and all that and guilt tripping me. And because that's the devil condemns you to a point where you feel worthless. So I thought, I better die. And I called my mom and I told my mom, unaona place tulizika mtoto wangu. I want you guys to lay me just next to him. I want to be buried there. Sorry. My mom told me, you know that's the devil speaking. Do not entertain that. Let's pray. Tukaanza kuomba network tukapoteana hivyo. So hatukusikizana tena again. So niko kwa bed and we are there and I'm feeling suicidal and all that. I've watched movies that people cut their wrists and they bleed to death. So I say I'll cut my wrist and I'll bleed to death. Nikishuka hivi bed, hapo kulikuwa na glass ilianguka vizuri, design ikajishape design, I can just slit and bleed. But another voice asks me, if you slit yourself, will you really bleed to death? Na wrist, hiyo damu itatosha wewe kukufa? That one I scrapped. I said, because I live on 4th floor, wacha niende nijitupe. Then another voice tells me, and I go to the point of naangalia sasa chini, I'm ready to go down. Kwa sababu pale chini ni concrete, nikifika ni hivyo. So another voice tells me, unaona hizi waya zimekaa hivi za security. What if ukienda uhanga hapo kwa hizo waya? Polisi watakukuta hapo, wakuarrest for attempted suicide.
Yeah.
Then you'll be in jail, you try to kill yourself. That idea doesn't make sense. Back to the house. Kata, stab tumbo, bleed to death. Then another voice tells me, remember ulifanywa CS, remember how many layers they sew you? So you think you're going to reach your stomach to a point of bleeding to, hiyo nayo ikaacha ku make sense. So at this point, niko ndani ya giza. Siwashi stima, naona na stima za Thika Road. Na si eti sina token, I'm just making it conducive for the demons. Now I go back to my bedroom and I say, hizi madawa zote nikaweza zibonda nizikunywe nikufe.
I'm good.
Another voice tells me, sasa utakuwa unaenda ati dialysis ukisema ati ulikuwa unataka kujiua. That one never made sense.
Yeah.
I believe that was the angel of God. Here I have the angels of darkness, and here I have the angel of God talking to me, the voice of God, just scrapping all those ideas I'm coming up with. Nikasema, sasa kumeenda hivyo, nitakunywa Piriton 15. Nilale siku hizo
2.
Then nitaamka nifikirie kuhusu maisha yangu, kwa sababu sasa kwenye maisha yangu ina head
hatuelewani.
Sielewi naenda wapi. Na nikakunywa hizo Piriton and I got drowsy and dizzy and I started looking for a place to sleep. Couch ikacha, nikaenda kulala nikasila, hapo hapana, sizilala kwa couch. Nikaona nitandike chini kwa carpet, hapana. Niende kwa bed, sina peace kwa bed. Guess nilala wapi, Lynn? Kwa wardrobe. Niliingia ndani ya wardrobe, nikajifungia ndani ya wardrobe, nikalala. Nikajikunja hivi. I was that tormented. Because I remember even on call, I told my mom, nasikia huku kaa niko na watu dhao kwa nyumba. Like there's heavy presence here. So I slept in the wardrobe. So here my mom, now from her side of the story, she comes the next morning. She's knocking on my door. I'm not opening. She peeps walivunja dirisha, wakachungulia siko sitting room. Wakazunguka bedroom, wakavunja dirisha ingine, siko bedroom. Anachungulia, naona siko kwa corridor. Wanachungulia choo, siko choo. Na mlango imefungwa na siko kitchen. So akasema she must be in the bathroom, because that's what they could not see.
Yeah.
Now the moment wakakapo wakabisha sana, according to how my mom tells me the whole story. And now they decided, she called my dad akamwambia, I think our daughter is in here lakini hafungui na hatumuoni anywhere. So wakakata dirisha. Someone got in, akaenda akafungua mlango hapo chini. Now she tells me, as they were out there, they were telling one another, waingia. Because they knew wanapata a dead person. Remember, I have mentioned to my mom, I want to die. So the moment they come in, they cannot see me. So my dad says, huku hata hakuna mtu. But they're like, nani alikuwa amefunga hapo chini kama hakuna mtu? So as my mom is entering my bedroom, she sees my dangling leg imehang. So she says, ndio ule, na hayuko. My dad was a doctor. So my dad comes and grabs my leg. Na nikaamka. Nikauliza, what are you doing in my bedroom? Yani nilikuanga tu ule mtu, nikiona familia I just want to
Vita.
Siwataki karibu, I'm aggressive. So what are you guys doing? Today naongea kizungu venye nakaa Lynn. My mom tells me that picture has never gotten out of her mind, because I'm miserable. Remember, I have grown very thin at this point. I am just dirty. The house, because I had watched again movies. By the way, watu wajichunge na hizi vitu tunaonanga kwa movies. Nilikuanga nimeona ukitaka kufukuza mashetani, unavunja sahani ama vikombe.
Ilikuwa exorcism gani?
So zile vikombe zilikuwa zimevunjwa huko na masahani.
A lot.
Nikifukuza shetani. Now
zinaanza kufall naturally.
Hadi tu naturally, saa hata nimezi welcome. So huko kumejaa masahani zimevunjwa na niko solo. So it looked, huyu alikuwa na fight na mtu ama what was happening here. Masigara everywhere, mabangi everywhere, mapombe everywhere. So that house looked like that. And these are two parents wameingia, hii ndio kitu wanakutana nayo. So they were sure that I'm dead. My mom told me, sikiza sikuachi, nakaa hapa na wewe. Upende usipende, I'm staying here with you. And at that time, I think I had started now submitting. I agreed, I accepted. It was a Friday, we stayed Saturday. And she told me, next week naenda fasting, but Sunday tutaenda kanisa pamoja. And I said, ndaenda fasting na wewe. Sikuwa fast. Mimi Lynn, in fact, niko na watu wanafast sama, nijinyime chakula mimi. Look at these people. Lynn, I used to be the kind of person who used to see people coming from church on Sunday. So nimekaa kwa balcony hapo na pombe. Naangalia watu hivi nasema, ona, walioga wakaenda kanisa. Kwani watu ni wajinga aje? People are very, people are very stupid. Then I'd call my if I have a friend, ebu come, ona ile fame, ona atisa walioga, ona venye wamenga.
Oh my God.
That used to be me. That used to be me. Imagine. So, sikujua mimi ndio ndakuwa hao watu.
Pako naambia mom, naenda fasting.
Naambia mom, naenda akaenda fasting. Lakini nikamwambia, na nilikuwa na kizungu mingi, shetani anakupeanga kizungu na hakuna kazi. So I'm like, no, because mom, I have never fasted. You know, I'll just take 3 days and go fasting for 3 days.
At accent in a calm.
I didn't gonna accent.
Yes.
And then I'll come back. Yeah, my mom told me it's okay. Mama alikuwa tu ananivumilia tu. Alikuwa tu ananivumilia. Kizungu mingi na accent na hakuna kitu. I'm just a shell. You know? So remember my mom also, God had taken my mom on a wilderness. Now, just to make sense of this situation, my mom had left her home and God told her, go and stay and uni kodugata. Go and serve me.
It's okay.
Go and serve me and I will reward you. But you have to leave your home. So, and your home, no other wife will come. Nothing will happen to your home. I'll take care of your home and I'll take care of everything. And if you think about your home, if you think about your husband, sijui your kids, onza hapa kuniambia watoto wako, I will finish them because you have to serve me. So, my mom was in the wilderness at that point. And she was told akiwa kwa wilderness that ukitikia kuniserve, I will save your children and you will preach with your children. Mama nasemanga alikuwa anaona kama ni akiwa 80 years ndio ataserve na watoto wake. And then she told me, she used to look at my bro and see my bro is closer to salvation.
No, Alex.
Akiniangalia, anaona huyu hawezi okoka. Huyu ndo naambia ndahubiri na yeye. Never. But akasema, because it is you God, I will believe you. And that's how now we went to church. At that point, she was preaching pale Mutarakwa. Mutarakwa is, ukienda Maimahiu, there's a place called Mutarakwa. And she had now her the altar that God had, called her to at that point. And that day, I got into church. And mom, that is the wisdom of God. My mom said, before we start the service, we are not all in the same page. And so even before I start preaching, I'd like, to ask anyone wants to give their life to Jesus so that we can all receive the word when we are on one page
together.
Nikakaa hapo nikasema ule mtu hajaokoka kwa kanisa ni mimi. Kwa hivyo ni mimi naambiwa.
Yes.
So, and by the grace of God, I just submitted. Na nikasimama and I walked to the front and I knelt down.
Wow.
And I was led to salvation. Lynn, I was a daily drinker. In fact, I think nikiokoka nilikuwa nanuka pombe, labda anaweza tuambia. I was still having. I was still smelling. Unajua ukivuta bangi
inakufuatanga tu.
Hadi nywele nuka tu bangi. So kwa sababu ya wale watu wanasemanga sisi tulikuwa tunaita aje hiyo kujifungia kwa moshi. Anyways. Huyo wanacheka anajua.
Ai Muga. Halo si Muga ni Edwin. Is that Edwin? No comment.
So bado nanuka tu hiyo bangi na pombe. And I said yes to Christ.
Wow.
And at that point, my dad and my mom, they also forgave me for everything on that very altar. And they blessed me on that very altar. Na sasa sijui nimeokoka niende wapi nifanye nini. But nakumbuka naenda fasting. By the way, service ikiisha nikaambia mom, mtanipatanga juu hiyo altar iko Maimahiu Oasis Reigners Ministries. Nikamwambia wena dad, wacha mimi nipande matatu, mtanipata mbele. And I went straight to the altar.
Wow.
And Lynn, I got into that church. And the people who were in the church were like 12 of them. Walikuwa tu wamebaki kufanya practices and all. And when they saw me, they came at the door and they all embraced me. I had never felt such love. I had never been loved. And I said, kwa Mungu kuna upendo hivi. They hugged me. They welcomed me. Remember me nimezoea bar kwenye It's Your Money That Speaks. Nimezoea life hard. Nimedragiwa Thika Road. Mi sijui upendo ni kusema nini. And the love I felt when I got in that altar is the love that, honestly, the love of God that kept me there. Nilingia kwa hiyo altar. The fasting they were fasting was for pastors for 7 days. Nilika nao mapasta. Bumper to bumper. Kenye wanafunzwa. I became, there's a hunger that came for this Jesus. And I told God, you have sent for me for 4 years. Four times, not 4 years. You have sent for me. You said I'm your servant. Now I'm here. I am here. You said that, but then God had told them, don't tell her anymore. She'll come here running. It's true, I went there running. And I told God, now I want to know you. I want to hear you. I want you. and you're all I have now. And the moment their fasting ikaisha, nikamwambia mimi sijamaliza, nikakaa kwa kanisa Lynn. Sikuwa natoka kwa hiyo perimeter wall ya kanisa. Hata duka nilikuwa natumana. I stayed in that church sleeping on a mattress. Hizo nguo za siku 3 ndio kila Sunday nilikuwa na the same dress, sikuwa najali. This God, I said, God, I'm staying here until the day I hear you. So I stayed there. I started hearing God. I started seeing visions. But this kingdom, nilikuwa nimeingia so deep into this kingdom that they used to call me their throne. So deliverances used to have a lot of contention. And they would say, this is our throne. Where are you taking her? Huyu tunampea wiki 2 arudi. Mnafikiria ati ameokoka? No. Ile kazi yako nayo ni mingi sana kwa kingdom yetu. Apparently, I was a blind agent. Blind agent means that you lead people to the kingdom of darkness unknowingly because of my influence. I would encourage, mimi ndio nilikuwa nafunza watu venye watavuta vitu. Namwambia wacha kubreathe hivyo, breathe hivi. Alafu achilia. So I was that. Hiyo ilikuwa ni kama ni mission yangu. Kama ni sigara naambia mtu avutangi hivyo na wewe unatoa. Lakini bangi usitoe. So I used to be, that was me.
Yeah.
So you see now, I was working for them unknowingly. And how I would speak, my language, Mungu utengeneza hadi language, venye mtu uongea. I had filthy language. So I stayed in church, Lynn, and this is when I started hearing God, seeing visions, and now the voice of the Spirit of the Lord used to be so clear, and he'd give me verses and I would read. I would stay in that church. Now one time we realized that each time nikifanywa deliverance, I go back to the same state. In fact, I start packing clothes. I start heading outside. Nataka kurudi Nairobi, nataka kurudi kwa hiyo chali. Pastor mmoja akasaidiwa na Mungu anaitwa Pastor Ann. Akaniambia, you had already been married in the kingdom of darkness, the marine kingdom. And because you had been married there, that guy made vows on that kingdom, on that altar concerning you. Now, you have to make vows to denounce him on the holy altar of God. She told me, go, write down vows, denounce this man, and say you no longer want him. Denounce this man completely. And she stood on the other side of the altar, and I stood on this side of the altar, and she told me, read your vows, and I will lead you. And I denounced that man on that altar. And that is when they released me. Hiyo ndio siku waliniacha. Denouncing. The power of denouncing covenants. When I denounced the covenants, the sexual covenants, the blood covenants, because we had a kid, there was a covenant there. That kid's covenant, all those covenants, even covenants of the mouth. Sometimes we agree with people. Kumbe tumemake covenant and agreements that matter in the spirit world. So they manifest in the physical. And that's now when I was fully delivered. And at that point, I was fully delivered. Now those people stopped pursuing me. I used to be pursued. Ndio maana nilikuwa nimekaa kwa kanisa. Juu najua nikivuka ile gate, ni hivyo. Nimeisha. Watanimaliza. Because the moment you start selling them out,
you're done.
You're done. They kill you. They finish you. So yeah, so I stayed in that altar. Na hapo na mapasta. I used to be the kind of person, mimi ndio kuendea maji, ndio kila kitu, ndio kuosha huko, everything. I said mimi najitoa huko kwa Mungu. The body, the living sacrifice. God says he delights in living sacrifice more than he delights in any money or any other things. So that Mungu aliona hiyo, kwa sababu mimi sikuwa na sadaka ya kutoa. Mimi sikuanga na sadaka. Hata watu wakipeleka tithe nikosema kai wala wako na pesa. Wanapeleka tithe. But I was the sacrifice. Yeah. And I used to wash that altar. I used to slash uko inje. I used to take care of the house of God, and he took care of me. Wow. And that's when now God changed my name. And one night as I was sleeping, that time I used to see visions even of angels, of the throne of God. God, kuna venye tu God anaka uwezi like tell ati God anakaanga hivi. I can explain how you look and all that. But you would see visions of the heavenly visions and the heavenly dreams and all those things. And that night, God woke me up. And I used to be woken up to even pray. God woke me up and he said, you're revived, winner. Ndio nilikuwa nakwambia, nikasema, jina ya YouTube channel imekuja. God akanishozi. No. You are revived, winner. I have revived you. Wow. You are dead. And you will win. And you will win for my kingdom and in my kingdom. And he told me, don't be ashamed. From today henceforth, that's how you introduce yourself. from today henceforth, that's your name. You go anywhere, what's your name? My name is Revived Winnie. I'm not ashamed. Lakini siku za kwanza sasa kai Mungu unaniaibisha sana kaje nikijiita hivyo. Kwanza hiyo ni jina gani? Yeah, so that's how I became revived, and that's how I now went through now Bible school in the church still with the pastors. I learned the Bible, how to pray. Unaweza ongea kizungu na ujui kuomba. Unaweza ongea kizungu na Bible hauelewi. As I say, the Bible is not a carnal book. It is not a carnal book. It's a very spiritual book. And that's why sometimes you will read and sleep because you want to understand with logicness, but it is a spiritual book. And at that point, I started, even after some time now, I got out of church after 3 months. I remember the day I got out of church, nilikuwa na feel ka gari, like being inside the car was new. Was like a new experience to me because I had never left that altar. And that's after that now I started going frequently to the mountain and praying and all that. I would go to my place, stay for 2 days, and then God tells me time to go to the mountain. I go. I would go back to at my place. Iyo jioni God ananiambia kesho asubuhi get out. Go. And that's how I grew spiritually. And that's how I started now demanding for what is mine. Now I knew, oh, my inheritance was taken. Now I knew, oh, the devil manipulated my destiny. Unaona venye niko na zeal, nikasema wewe shetani, ile kitu umenifanyia na mimi on my knees, I'm fighting you. God. Remember, God gives you wisdom. You cannot go and tell that man, najua ni wewe uliniroga. Our warfare is not flesh and blood. Yeah. It is not, we don't fight against flesh and blood. So you cannot go and tell that man, I know you killed the kid. I know that is not our space of fighting. Our space is on the knee. Apa kwa magoti. Apa kwa magoti is where we call God, and it's where we fight. And so I started claiming back what is mine. I started claiming back my inheritance. And I started doing that with the word of God. And that's how nikaanza kurudi. I met myself again. And I said, wow. I'm such a wonderful girl. So I'm this happy. So I'm a jovial person. Because I was always sad. I was always violent and all those things. So Lynn, that's how I was revived. And that's how my journey to being revived was. Oh. And let me just say, when your destiny is manipulated, because it wasn't done in one day, deliverance is not a one day thing. Siku hizi Lynn, mimi naona watu wanakimbia, wanasema, twende tukafanya deliverance. Wanakimbia. Wanatoa pesa yenye wanatoa, wanaangushwa chini, wanaamka, wanasema wako delivered. But let me tell you, deliverance without knowing Christ is in vain. Yeah. Because fine, the demons will leave you. Because that man of God or woman of God is anointed. And they can cast out demons. But what that vacuum that the demons leave, what do you feel with it? What do you fill it with? Because remember, the Bible says the demons that went to the wilderness and decided, let's go back where we were and see whether we can still occupy. Is it in the book of Matthew? See where we can still, whether we can still and occupy, we can still go and occupy that place. And when they went back, they did not just go back the way they had gone out. They came back 7 times. Yeah. So I ask people, sawa, utafanywa deliverance. But you don't know Christ. You don't want to walk with God. You don't want to read the word. You don't want to pray.
You don't want to do the work.
You don't want to do the work. So when those demons come, what will they find? A vacuum. Your situation will be worse than it was. So there is power also in praying for yourself. Yeah. How many times will those pastors pray for you? How many times will you keep running to the women of God, to the men of God? You ought to grow up spiritually. You ought to grow up from the milk. Yes. Sasa ingia kwa vita. Iyo battlefield ingia we mwenyewe. Wewe ndio unaweza hizo vita. Of course, have a backing of a spiritual authority. Yeah. That I cannot dismiss. That one has really helped. But do the work. Read the word. The word is our deliverer. The word of God. The Holy Spirit is our deliverer. Without the Holy Spirit, even if we gathered 20,000 and the Holy Spirit never showed up, no deliverance will happen. So the Holy Spirit is key. And then he's our helper. Yeah. He will help you, Lynn. And that's how now I learned all that. And it's because that church, hakuna kuspoon-feediwa. Ni ugrow, teke, haraka tukisonga. And nikiwa uko kwa kanisa, I used to cry and say, oh God, you see this man sacrificed my child. Oh, punish him. God told me one day, the moment you finish crying, you'll stand up and you'll go. Ile kazi iko mbele yako ni mingi sana. This pity party. Stop. You're making for yourself here. Stop. I am not about pity parties. I'm a God of movement. Let's move. We'll move when you're ready to move. Stand up, let's go.
But we will move.
But we will move. And he told me, you have to forgive that man. Hey!
Oh, no way. Okay, come on, God.
Hapo kwa forgiveness is where I used to draw the line.
Mbona God anakuanga hivyo sometimes?
So niko, God wewe umeona, amekuja, amefanya hivi, amesacrifice. Hadi mtoto, mimi alikuwa anataka aniue. Nimforgive. God akaniambia, hiyo ndio sin. You simama mbele yetu sana, unforgiveness. And the Bible says, forgive as I forgave you. So Lynn, every day we are on our knees. Oh God, forgive me. I did this, I did that. But we won't forgive. We won't forgive. That is unforgiveness. It stands between us and God. We have to forgive. Na sio ile ya kuforgive. I've forgiven you, but I won't forget. That is not forgiveness. Yes. You can imagine. Niko nasikia alikatea my heart. The pain of forgiving that man was too much. But God helped me. And I said, God, I forgive that man. Despite everything he did. And I pray that he does not die in sin. That God, you'll also save him. Na ndio ambiane ukweli, what happens on the other side. Please, even today, that man, I pray that God saves him. I don't pray that he dies. I don't, wacha Mungu anibariki anionange. No. I want God to save him. And it is my prayer to date, and may the Lord hear me. May the Lord save that man. And so that he will testify. And so that he will not die in sin. And that's my prayer for that man. And from that time, Lynn, God started sending me to missions. Yeah. Alikuwa ananiambia amka twende mission. Nenda tao naambiwa ombea huyu. Ombea ule. Uwe. Sasa hiyo Lynn, mpaka fea nimeomba. Ananiambia enda kwa ile biashara, omba na huyo mama. I used to pray for nena, habari yako? Unamjua Yesu? Ningependa Mungu anasema. Sasa nashangaa nikimwambia Mungu anasema ataona kama naongea vitu zangu, but God gave me confidence and courage, and I'd go and tell them, you know, the Lord loves you so much.
Ushaona watu wakuja kukuuliza story ya God. Unaangalianga hivi unashindwa. Wewe una job wewe. Like
unataka kuninyang'anya.
Bana hata akikwambia muombe uko hivi.
Aya.
Just in case
by
they don't
Kuna watu niko naambia tuombe wako sawa. Lakini mama ananiangalia, nikifungua macho na wapata hiyo. But God used to go ahead of me because I don't remember being rejected.
Yes.
And I'd go pray with hawkers, I'd go pray with business people at around where I used to live, Juja, and I'd pray and businesses would grow. Na nilikuwa naambia God, what? I'm the one who did, I prayed, you used me, and that would motivate me. Akinituma, mimi huyo. Hey, habari yako? I pray and things would happen. People would get healed. Then we started serving now with mom. We'd walk for missions. We'd go and pray for people and things would happen. So that gave me courage. I was no longer ashamed, and I'm not ashamed to date, to proclaim Christ. This Jesus, oh my God, zile vitu alinifanyia. How can I deny him? How can I not serve him? How can I forsake him? He was there when nobody was there. He was there when I was written off by the world. He was there when family members waited for the day I'll die for them to bury me. Everyone had written me off, but Jesus had not written me off. And to date, I serve him. I serve as a youth pastor. Na mimi nikikuta mtu anavuta bangi ni mlevi, I sit with them. And I tell them, you know what? I used to do it more than you're doing it. So you can leave this space. You can leave this captivity. And that's how I serve Lynn.
Wow.
And now I serve as a youth pastor in the women ministry with my mama under her. Akipreach even a tafsiri. We also compose songs together.
Oh no?
Yes.
You sing?
Yes, we sing.
For real?
Yes, we sing. Tuimbe kawimbo. Next time tutaimba kawimbo. Tunaweza muita.
Mom, si ukuje tu watu wakuone tu
wakusalimie.
Si ukuje tu. Apeni mom mic. Guys, I know it's not complete until we hear.
Until she shows up.
Pea mom mic.
She's a warrior.
She is so beautiful.
She's a warrior.
Karibu mom. Skola, letea mom kapilo kengine. Mom, karibu sana.
Asante.
How are you?
I'm fine.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling nice.
Yeah.
In fact, I have been yearning for this day. Even there's a time I told her, do you know you'll go to Lynn's show?
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
And look at us now.
Yeah.
The
So
day
when
that
she
the
told
Lord...
me that she's coming, I was like, God has done it.
Yeah.
Good, eh?
Yeah. So I thank God for that.
Amina.
Because this far it's God.
Yeah.
Yeah, not by ourselves. And there's somewhere she has forgotten.
Yes.
When she was in that church, there's a time she she felt that she wanted to go back to bangi. You
yeah,
remember?
Yeah. Hey, nilikuwa nasikia kuomba watu bangi kwa barabara. Hey, napita hivi. Sasa hiyo nimeokoka, nasikia bangi imenuka.
Yeah, because the withdrawals also.
So nasikia niwaombe.
Go on, mom.
So when she was feeling that, and then she told Pastor Mary, I'm feeling like I want to take a snap.
Yeah.
Akamwambia, you know the place that you used to buy? Go and buy that bangi. Come to it in the church.
Come with it.
And then she was like, what about the people who see me with the bangi here? And there's a policewoman who is fasting here. She told her, just go for it. Come, put it in the altar, write a divorce letter to bangi. And she did that.
Wow.
Now she can tell us after that what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. So Pastor Mary told me, what are the two urges that you have?
Sorry, we need to. We will get there. Okay. But I feel like I don't want to rush, mom, because there's the conversation that comes from a child's perspective, and then there's a conversation that comes from a parent's perspective. Because I know a lot of parents who will be watching this, they are also struggling with kids who are in the position that you were. So I want to know from a parent's perspective, how do you keep fighting for a child that does not want to be fought for? So if you allow me, is it okay if we close this and come back for a part 2?
It's okay.
That's okay? Yes, mom, that's okay with you? All right, guys. Poleni sana. Like, I just feel like mom has a story for us. Might not be long, but it's good that we also let her encourage the parents that are out there. Don't forget, we'll get to hear more from Winnie and also how you can connect with her on different social media platforms and also get to know what is she working on right now and how do you guys get to connect with her. So allow me to wind this on part 1 so that you can get to watch part 2 tomorrow. But I just want to say thank you quickly to you guys for just staying still and watching this, and also to our beautiful sponsors that I did speak on at the beginning of this conversation. That's Kings and Tap Tap. Asanteni sana. And do not forget, guys, we have great news for you this August. You know, Israel Mbonyi is coming to Kenya, and I know a lot of people are waiting for that concert. All the details on how you can be able to book your ticket are showing on the screen. Go have an amazing time as you praise with that man of God. I'm gonna see you guys for part 2 tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bye-bye.